Call this regular Bayfield Town Board meeting to order on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 at 5:31. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Here.
Trustee Zazzaro. Trustee Hartz. Trustee Katsos.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee McLaurin. And Mayor Ah.
Here. All rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does the board have any conflicts of interest?
No.
Nope.
Next, I'd like to open it up for general public input for items not on the agenda.
David Black, 606 Lincoln. Being able to address our elected officials in times like these is the most important thing that we can do. And right now, we have a 6-alarm fire zone. And I would hope that you, as our elected officials here locally, have the same concern that I do, that there's a 6-alarm fire going. And that everyone, especially you, our elected officials, need to step up, speak up, contact the next level of people. If you haven't been in contact with Senator Bennett, Senator Hickenlooper, and Representative Hurt, I urge you to do it today, please. 6-alarm fire.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing. Pine River Sheriffs will go a long ways. Please give every consideration to the money that they're asking for, because if there's any good that's being done in this community, it's Pine River Sheriffs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Lucy Stewart. I'm here to thank Jeremy. Every time that I've had an issue with my utilities, he's always sent somebody to take care of it, or he has taken care of it. And so I think we have some really good employees here that we need to support. And just show them for all the stuff that they're doing for us. I think they're doing a great job.
Thank you, Lucy.
3 minutes. Jeremy, you're on the timer.
Marie, could you pull her mic down a little bit? They're trying to reach to get it. Can you get it?
My
Okay.
name is Gina Schultz, 335 and a half Shoshone. I'm here today representing the Southwest Colorado Education Collaborative. I am on the board of directors. I wanted to bring to the attention of the board and the town of Bayfield that we have a Career Path Expo taking place next week, February 11th. And at this time, I am not seeing a lot of town of Bayfield businesses signed up. The expo will be presenting career paths and opportunities to students from Ignacio, Bayfield, and Durango. It is not a hire me fair, it is a career fair. This is what we do, this is what we can do with your education getting out of high school. This is what you can do after you've left high school, going on to college, and you can bring that knowledge back to the community and apply it here. So it's really important that we see the town of Bayfield potentially have a booth there, whether it be the town manager, our police department, our public works department, our parks and rec, or members of the board. where, you know, you have businesses, you have experience, that you could be there and speak to our youth. It's important for Bayfield students to see people from the Bayfield community present. It shouldn't just be, we're in Durango at the fairgrounds and we just see Durango businesses, because Bayfield's doing great things too, and our kids need to see that. So I am presenting that to you today, would love to see representation, it's free. So the booth space is free. All it is your time, and your time is invaluable to our youth. So there's that hack, that's the collaborative hack. The next one that I will just briefly let you know about is I am also on the Bayfield Parents After Prom Committee. Bayfield High School's prom will be on April 19th this year, and as always, we are beginning to come out and approach community members. I will be filling out one of these lovely community grant forms to ask for a donation from the town to present and provide us with financing so that we can provide a sober environment for our youth that is safe. After the prom, it runs from 10 to 3 and provides the youth a safe place to go. We spend that money to buy prizes and gifts and a bouncy house and things to keep the kids engaged and off the road. So, thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Does the board have any questions?
No?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we got another one. We got another one.
Hi,
Snuck in
I'm
on me.
Andrew Clark, Silver Mountain Group. We're doing the Cinnamon Heights project. I told you I'd come in here once a month.
You did.
Yeah.
Hi, Andrew.
You're right. In that amount of time, I can't remember where I left it last time, but we've got all the stormwater done up there. We've got the state permit, we've got all the surveying done, and then we were able to, because of the, you know, after living here for 30 years, I'm not somebody who loves droughts, but the upside is it's
Right.
really good for construction in January. So, the scheduling wise, we were able to get a bunch of guys on site and do a lot of work and get all the rough grading in. And so that's where we're at right now. It's all surveyed, all the driveways are in, all the building pads are roughed in. And what we're basically waiting on right now is materials. We gotta get a bunch of concrete, especially made for sewer vaults and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So not a lot's gonna happen for the next 3 weeks as we kind of sit and wait for that. But once we get that, you know, we should make fairly rapid progress unless, you know, it snows 10 feet, which I kind of want, but also kind of don't. So that's kind of where we're at on the project. If you guys had any questions.
Nope,
Appreciate you coming
yeah.
and telling us again.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
We like
right.
the update.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, I mean, if the weather holds, we should make some good progress. I don't know, just something that I think you guys should know that I was talking to some of the guys that work for us that hopefully will work on the project even past this stage when we actually start building the buildings. I've gathered from all the time I've sat in here listening to meetings that this project has had some highs and some lows. But where it stands right now is like, you get, one thing to remember is I'm telling these guys like, hey, we might start building 30 units over here. I mean, these guys are over the moon, excited about the work. So from that perspective, and all these guys either live in Bayfield or live within 10 miles or less of Bayfield. And so I just wanted to say that, something to remember. This is a good thing from that standpoint. So, from my perspective, I love to build stuff, and the more we build, the better. So I just want to let you guys know there is an upside to both the drought and the project.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
Nope, I drove by last week, so good job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of boring over there for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get some weather then.
Let's get the weather now. Let's
Yeah.
get all this snow right now.
Yeah.
Because if
Do
we
it
don't,
now, and
if
then
we don't
in 3
get weather,
weeks
you
you're
won't be
good.
working this summer.
All right. Anything else? You got anything to add, Jim?
I don't have anything to add, Andrew.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Andrew.
Any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to close that down. And approval of the agenda is up next. Has the board had a chance to look over the agenda?
Go ahead.
No, that's right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next is community grant requests and citizen request. First up is Pine River Shares. I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Can you note that Trustee Hart's walked in? Now you're free to go.
I'm Sarah Green, and I am the co-director at Pine River Shares. Our mission is healthy, thriving communities. We provide food support to Bayfield and the surrounding Pine River Valley, as well as help with food bills and a free park store. We serve 400 households a month with family food support through our food shares and emergency food boxes. We deliver 800 food bags for kids each month to area schools during the school year. And currently, there is no other summer food programs to feed Bayfield kids when they're out of school. So today, we're here to ask for your support to fill that hole.
Yeah, I'm Paul Pavich, I'm a volunteer at Pine River Shares. First of all, we really appreciate the help that we've gotten from you in the last couple of years for this program. Last year in the summer, we served, I believe, over 800 kids during the summer. And by the way, our nutritionists has tried to include healthy snacks. It's not all just Takis or something. So they're getting apples and oranges and string cheese and yogurt. The other thing that's really cool about this program is that it's staffed, although I'm in the background being like a gremlin, the place is staffed by kids from the middle school and the high school. So it's our kids giving food to our kids. It's a really nice thing. Again, thank you for your support.
Does the board have any questions?
No, but I've seen you guys in action. Last summer, my grandkids came out to visit, and I happened to be at the library when you guys were sorting and packaging and handing out, and it's quite an event, and we're very fortunate that you guys provide this to our community, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
So, I was going to say, I'm looking down the rest of the agenda. I'm like, wait a minute, this needs to be up there.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Pine River Shares request for $1,500.
And I will second.
that.
Yep.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next is the utility relief citizen request.
So I put a quick snapshot of his bill. It was current through the last agenda, and you'll find that on page 8. It shows each column would be a rolling monthly billing cycle.
You're up.
Okay, I think as I mentioned the last time I was here, just about the time that the city quit sending out bills, I developed an unknown leak in the water line that comes from the meter to my house. It never bubbled up or anything like that, so I just had no idea it was there until December when you guys sent me about a $3,300, less than $3,300 water bill. I immediately reached out to M&R Service and had that water line fixed, but I just didn't know that my water was running that whole time, and there was no way for me to know because it was bubbling up. And I think that a water bill's very much higher than it would be during those months. Those months aren't, sprinkler system months or anything else. And I guess I'm just asking for some type of abatement because I didn't know. And if I would have known, if the city would have been sending out water bills, I would have fixed it immediately, upon noticing it. And I don't have any idea how the leak developed. They had no idea, but it was before it got to my house, and so there was no sign in my house that it was running. And due to our geography, I guess it just goes down into the ground, whereas in other places in the world it would bubble up and you would know. And so I guess lots of other cities in Colorado have a process that people can go through to apply to the utility department for abatement. Denver, I think, has one in Durango, but probably because of the size of Bayfield, it doesn't happen enough to have that process, so I was told I needed to come and ask for some type of abatement, to the board here, and I would appreciate any kind of abatement that you guys would see fit. I did fix it just as soon as I got the bill in December, so I'd answer any questions.
I've got some questions. When did you purchase the house? What year?
April of 2023.
April of 2023, okay. So you're the new hookup of April of 2023.
I would assume so,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
I mean, I don't know if it was a new hookup. That was not a new house. I bought a house that was already hooked up.
Gotcha.
But yes, it was
Yeah.
April 2023.
Okay. I probably should say a new connect, not a hookup, but
Yeah,
let me say
that's-
connect, yeah.
I'm not sure of your terminology.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm not sure of my terminology either sometimes. I'm looking at 2 years of water usage, and there seem to be high numbers in 2023.
There was a leak in the sprinkler system in 2023 that I had fixed when I got those high numbers.
Okay,
And I paid San Juan Waterworks to fix, that was in the irrigation. In August of this year, there was a relatively high bill, and I had San Juan come back out again, because I thought any problem would be in the sprinkler system. And so we paid about $1,000 to those guys in August or early September, I'm not sure which, to do more work to our irrigation system, and we got everything fixed there. Then when the bill came in December, I called them up, I was like, well, how could this possibly be? And they're like, no, the sprinkler system's been off, we shut it down. And that's when I actually called your guys, and they came out and told me, you've got a problem between the water main and where it comes
Yeah.
into your
Yeah.
house. And that's when I called M&R service to come out. So I've actually had problems with the irrigation system that I thought I had addressed, and apparently I had properly addressed. This was a different issue, so I've just been unlucky in having water issues.
gotcha. Well, I'm just looking at trying to find some consistency in your water use, and it's been pretty sporadic both in 23 and 24, so I can understand if you had a sprinkler leak in 23 and then you had this other leak in
Sure, and I've got
24.
the receipts from all the
Yeah,
people
yeah.
I've been paying to fix these water
Sure.
issues. And so pretty much how it's gone is the second I see a high bill, I call somebody and have it
Sure.
worked on. And it had been the irrigation system in the past. This new issue was just brand new, and it was a lot more water. The irrigation leaks were very minor in comparison to this water main leak, which was just an absolute huge amount of water.
Yeah. Well, and I do empathize with the fact that we didn't have any billing going out, and, I would like to hope that responsible citizens would look at their bill and go, oh, holy cow, I better call somebody and figure out what's going on. I'm just trying to assess abatement adjustment, and sort of just looking at the inconsistency over 2 whole years. I feel like an abatement is reasonable, but what is that abatement going to be? And
I kind of
what
wonder.
would your thoughts be?
Yeah, since he's had so many issues, and he had issues with the water sprinkler system prior, it's really hard to do an abatement and base it off of the prior year.
Yeah.
And then he also is a new to Bayfield as well. So I kind of wonder if we can go back in the history even further of that home and maybe look to see what a couple years worth of history for during those months and average them out and then use that as what his billing would be. Just because there's nothing on here that allows us to come up with an amount
It's very
if we were
erratic.
to try to do an abatement.
Yeah,
What-
that's what
The
I
home
think.
has been there since 2014.
Plenty of time to
And I
have a
lived there with
history.
just my wife and one child, and we just used the regular, water for.
Yeah, well, you've had issues, and so it's hard for us to go, okay, this is what he used last year, we can do that amount as the charge.
I understood, I was suggesting
yeah.
we could perhaps go back
Yeah.
before those problems developed.
That's what I was just recommending, thank
So,
you.
Kathy, refresh my memory. What months did we not send out bills?
Paper bills did not go out
Wasn't it November,
September and
December?
October.
Oh,
It was September, yeah.
Or November, I got mine in December.
I think it was 3 months.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So September, October,
It's
and November.
exactly that
And then
timeframe.
the bills did go out December 20th.
So,
And then you got your bill in December, and that was the $3,000.
Yeah, I got the bill on December 20th, and I had the work done to correct the problem on December 23rd. And so.
That
I didn't
makes
get a
sense.
bill- We got a bill in early September, I believe, and then, or late August, and then no bill in September, October, and November, and we finally got one in December, which is when I discovered the problem.
do you have something else to add?
No, I'm pondering.
Instead of using staff time to go back and further find more history, could we just take 100,000 gallons off of those 3 months as an abatement?
100,000?
100,000 gallons, yeah, for the water usage.
100,000 gallons?
So he has 145,000 just in September.
Right.
And his
so
normal
for
usage.
each month. For
Oh,
each
okay,
of those
okay.
3 months.
That makes better sense.
Yeah, just, and then the 4th month is not quite 100,000.
I
I
yeah.
mean, instead, the staff is
Right.
overloaded.
That's where I was heading to somehow.
I think what we can do is take an average of all of these charges for the year of 2024 and come up with an average. That seems like a reasonable thing that we could do.
Well,
I mean,
May, June, and July, he's averaging, well, and August, I mean, he's probably averaging $200 or a little bit more per month.
But the January, February, March are probably more in line with the usage that he would have
I guess
from
I was-
September, October, November.
But I was looking at those months because those are irrigation seasons, and we know he was irrigating in September and in October.
He-
Or,
I turned off my irrigation system at the very beginning of September.
okay,
well, all we have in front of us are these hard numbers. And it seems to me that what we need to do, in the winter months, he was averaging $122 a month. And I would say in the summer months, if we take a reasonable amount, which was that 14,000 gallons, that's 163. That's about what I pay in the summer. So I think if we were to assess, September at 163, and then October, November, and December at the 122.55, that seems right. I don't know, what do you think?
I would be good with that.
I'm good with that.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. Did we get that?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna charge him the 122.55. Let's see, wait a minute, let me back up. We're gonna charge the 229 for September and October, and then November and December, the 122.
Okay, 229 for September and October?
No, that's wrong. So, the 229 for September
Okay,
and the 122 $229.55 for October, November, and December.
Okay, per month.
Yeah,
So $229 for September,
yep,
$122.55 for October,
November and
November,
December.
and December.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Write that down in case she needs a motion.
We're gonna need a motion.
Okay,
We're gonna have to have a motion.
Yeah.
sure.
So that comes to $596.65 is what you want to charge him.
Yes.
And we actually charged him $953.45, we actually charged him $3,516.57. So I'm gonna give him a credit of $2,920.92.
And 22 cents. Okay,
92 cents.
92.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So 29.20.92.
292092
Got
would
it.
be the credit on the account.
Okay. All right. We're all good with that?
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think
Make
so.
a motion.
I'm good with
We
it.
Okay.
need, we need a
Okay.
motion, though.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to make an adjustment for the Campbell Home water usage for the month of September. The charge will be $229.26. For October, November, and December, that amount will be $122.05, and the total is $596. The difference that we are reducing his bill is to $2,920.92.
I'll second that.
Are you good with that?
Yep.
Are both of yous good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got their information.
Okay, I'm just making sure you got the motion down.
Yeah, yes, I have the information, and just so you know, it will be made as a credit to his account. I'm not going to change any of the numbers that screws up our water readings. So
Sure.
Yeah,
it will just
that's
be a
fine.
credit on the account, and I'll make sure that it's posted tomorrow.
Okay.
We
so
need to vote.
Now,
Can I make a note first? I've arrived. I know that if Michael were here, he would want to make a
I
note
saw ya.
that I have come in. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, Mayor.
so I was getting there too, but there's like three things, never mind. I got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katsos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Moving on to the consent agenda. First up is approval of the minutes for January 7th, 2025.
All of them together. All of them together.
Oh, you want to throw them all into one?
So on a consent agenda, you guys can still ask questions on these, but we're going to pass them all in one motion
Okay.
in an effort to limit the agenda since we're doubling up
Okay.
tonight.
Well, then we'll start. Is there any questions or discussion for the January 7th minutes?
No?
Nope.
Any questions or discussion for the minutes of the special meeting for January 9th?
Nope.
No?
Any questions or discussion for the work session attendance for January 7th?
No?
No.
Approval of the minutes for January 21st?
No.
No?
Let's see, December 24 financial statement. Any questions?
I don't,
Discussion?
I don't have a question, but I did think that we should at least identify or make everybody aware that, you know, some of the percentages at the end of the year, we did go over. In town hall operations. I know one was in underneath our attorney fees went up exponentially, as well as our when we hire consultants. So our consultant fees also went up a lot. And I just thought it would be important for us as a board to recognize those things and try to mitigate them as this next year comes on.
I agree.
I don't think you'll get an argument with that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that, you know, as well, that the public knows that we acknowledge that had occurred, and we're going to do our best not to have that happen again this year.
Is there any other questions, concerns, comments on the December financial statements?
No.
Nope.
Questions or concerns for the sales tax report?
No.
No.
Nope.
And the January 25 expenditures?
I have one, and this is, I think, for Jeremy. I was looking at the sludge removal cost. Has that gone up
It's
exponentially?
it's doubled, basically.
It's doubled,
Yeah.
and that was anticipated, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it should be budgeted for this year. But it did go from around $37,000 to about 64. One thing that we're accruing with changing the vendor is we're being charged from the landfill a biosolid charge.
Okay.
So
Is that new?
Yeah, from our previous provider, Republic Services that owns the landfill, was not assessing the biosolids charge.
Ooh.
So we're paying per ton plus that biosolid charge. So we did account for that in the budget, but the sludge removal has doubled this year in '25.
Okay. And then one other question. There was a charge, and I'm just curious if this is related to the police department. There was a forensic exam of $750. Is that for the police department? I figured it was, but you can have forensic exams everywhere. Audits and all kinds of things, so.
I was on a case earlier in the year. I can't go into it because
No.
of the ages.
Sure.
That was needed.
Okay, I just was curious. Okay, that's all I have.
So we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katsos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Department reports.
You want me to start off?
Sure.
Okay.
Love to. Welcome our new town interim
Right.
manager.
And I was going
Mark
to say a little bit for
Scott
the
Hunt.
public, because
Yeah.
the trustees, they know my resume, what I've done. I gave a little spiel in front of the staff, so they heard a little bit of it. But for the public who listens to this, and it came to the meeting, but I started in local government over a half a century ago. So it's been quite a while, and I've had all kinds of positions in that, those first few decades with Parks and Recreation, Road and Bridge, and streets, and working at plants, et cetera. I actually even had to clean the alligator cage in the zoo with one position and with the alligators in the cage. And I figured that probably gives me the best experience I've had to become a city manager, is with the alligators.
Don't mess
But-
with the alligators? Is
Yeah.
that how that works?
Yeah, we had to clean the alligator cage, and they stayed in the cage when you did it. You had to shoo them to one side while you did it. Anyway, and then I worked with the state auditors, state treasurers, and then became a city manager over 30 years ago, and worked quite a few different places, places that needed a lot of work and accomplished great things, I think, in those places. So that's a little bit of background. I think now I am probably should be accepted into the community because, like many others, I hit a deer this morning.
Well, welcome to
I
Deerland.
joined the fraternity, I guess. Fortunately, didn't damage too much, or it didn't look like much of damage. But and then another thing I wanted to say is that quite often people in a small town have opposing opinions about things, but they forget that they all have shared interests as well. That's what a community is, a community of people that have shared interest. And you yourselves have a shared interest now, and fortunately, you all voted for me. So you can blame yourself if this doesn't work out, and you all share in that responsibility. So that's a shared responsibility. Okay. Anyway, as you know, things have been crazy the last few weeks with the flooding we had, and many of us are displaced. I'm down here in this little office. So half my office is upstairs and some of it's downstairs. I just now got on Outlook on Friday because they were having a hard time doing that. I'm still not connected with the phone. I spent about an hour today trying to get the phone to link into the Outlook so I'd have I'd know my schedule, et cetera. So we're having, and certainly I'm having problems with some of that, but it's really quite, it's much nicer now because everything's dry and everything's quiet and we're getting back to work. We'll probably go into the discussion on the fire suppression repair, et cetera, and some of that a little bit later. Jeremy will get into it, and I'll try to fill in the gaps there too. So that's an issue that's coming up. There's something that Kat brought up that actually it's out there generally known, but there's a bill that was passed where all the local governments, all the special districts, et cetera, have to do an ADA requirements for information. So everything that you're recording, everything you're writing down has to be accessible to anybody with an ADA problem, developmental problem, disability problem. And that seems quite enormous of a task because if you really understand communication and it's there's so many parts to that. And anyway, the city will have to move forward at trying to comply with that. And I think we have until like April of 27 to get it done. However, everybody else is going to be trying to get it done. Some of the documentation I've seen, they all recommend getting your own ADA coordinator, which is like another position, even for a small town. And it's probably true, because I honestly think that the task is quite large. Now, the only thing I can think that could happen is artificial intelligence, which I hate to think steps in, but that's about the only one to come in and just within a few months figure out how to digitize or take your digitized information and make it understandable by everyone, even people who have disability, unable to communicate very well, or can't see, or can't hear. They all have to have access to the information that we're producing here in the government. So that's a big job that's coming up.
Real quick, I have a question. Have you been able to research other municipalities to see what they're doing?
I have a call in to my former IT department in Rifle, and we had 3 people on board there, and I did make contact, but we haven't actually sat and talked on the phone, and he's looking forward to talking to me. I haven't seen him for a couple of years, so I'm going to see what he's done, and then I've got some other contacts that I've gotten. I think Shack
and Pagosa Springs.
Yeah, so there's some places that I've read some of the information, but I need to contact people to see how have they handled it in other places. So,
do you think maybe the CML, Colorado Municipal League, would potentially have some insight?
It could be. DOLA probably has resources there too, or at least can help us understand the problem. This is going to be such a large project. I don't know if they're going to be throwing resources at us to do it, but maybe they're going to help us understand it. So, but we'll see. I'm doing all the work and to try to understand that issue. I am swamped, as one might expect, but I'm doing my best for you to get through it. And that's another thing. I'm an interim manager, and so I'm here to do the chores that a normal city manager does until that city manager is selected. And I work at to the pleasure of the Board of Trustees, just as a regular manager does. So I will do my best to try to accomplish the projects you have ahead of you. And so actually the biggest thing I want to report about is the biggest hole in the organization is in planning, okay? And from my opinion, you have actually almost too many subdivisions that have problems, right? And you have too many subdivisions, applications coming in beyond, what people are qualified to handle here. You have a contract planner, puts in 14 hours a week, which is way too little, but that contract planner costs you $10,000 a month. It just blows my mind away. It's that much money. And I don't see any way of getting around it. And in fact, most places are having very difficult time in finding planners. They're just, for some reason, they're not coming out of the schools. They're not getting experience. Maybe that's a good career path thing to bring up at this meeting, because they're just not out there. Cortez contracts for a planner to come in the same way as we do. So filling that position is going to be extremely important. And I know that they went out and to add for a planner and for a community development director, which is a little higher level. And I would say that they didn't yield very good results. I mean, I wouldn't say that any of them could serve as a community development director. And maybe some could be a planner if they had somebody here to help them get through the volume and the quality and the detail of it to understand it. So I've kind of bounced back and forth. I'd like to hire a planner who, you could bring in and bring up to speed, but you don't have anybody to mentor them up to speed. So, and they also, the wage, unfortunately, this is what we're all facing here. The wages for that seem good to me, but I'm old, so it's not near enough to come to a new community, come to Bayfield, and afford to live here. And so maybe the only wage that a new person could come in and inject themselves into the Bayfield area is going to be more like a community development director. And that's really more what you need, because you need somebody with pretty advanced skills, because you're so involved with so many areas, and they keep walking in, and we just go, okay, you want another subdivision? Okay, another subdivision. And when you have phases, and subdivisions have a filing, and there's a filing 1, 2, 3, and they all do phases. Every time you do a phase, you've got to have somebody out in the field checking the infrastructure and working with the developer. It makes it like, if you have 5 phases, it makes it 5 times as much subdivision work, okay? It makes it affordable, maybe affordable for the developer to handle and put less risk on them of getting too many homes out. But it just quadruples the amount of work that the city has to take to get those things done. And as you can see by all the problems you had, if you're not really tight with the regulations and the standards you have on these subdivisions, they're going to have problems that have they're going to require $1 million solutions, millions of dollars from your citizens here. So it's a I don't want to scare you, but you have a demand that you can't really take care of, and we've got an unlimited amount of demand at this point that just keeps walking in the door. So it's my goal, because the most selfish thing I could do is to try to find this hole for the manager because it makes it a little bit more manageable to be here if you have a planner. But it's also, in my recommendation to the trustees, that's the most important thing for you, is to get that planner on board and get them up to speed, et cetera. And we probably will keep the contract planner until we get somebody that's up to speed. So that's a high priority for me. I think that's about it. I can answer any questions, and then we can go to other staff comments. Any questions?
Scott, share with them the fact that the planner that you hired for Rifle, I believe, came up through the ranks and is now the city manager. So it is my opinion, reviewing your resume and then also your knowledge and experience, that you would have the ability to interview and present to us, if we had the applicants, a planner or community development director worth considering. I feel that I could feel fairly confident in your ability to assist our HR director, Marie, to go back out and take a look. Your thoughts?
My first job, the town of Erie, and several jobs after that, I didn't have a planner, okay? I had to be the planner. And then ultimately, by the end of that term with the town of Erie, we had thousands of new homes going in. So I have personal experience of the difficulty you have with developments blooming around you. In Rifle, we hired a planner from the county, okay? Came on board and real level-headed, just kind of like Dan is, your contracted one. He was a pretty level-headed guy. And then that person now is the city manager. So has been successful at his efforts in Rifle. Now, I am completely confident that if I can find a pool of applicants that have the reasonable qualifications, I can pick a very good qualified applicant or a very good candidate from that. But it's reliant upon having enough people or having anybody who's really reasonably qualified. I even hired in Salida. Salida, we didn't have a planner either when I started. I was the first full-time city manager they had. So I hired the planner there, and she was quite successful. She's in Aspen now. Anyway, Jennifer Phelan. But again, she had the basic skills and experience to be able to then pick up and do well. So I feel confident in my abilities to recognize people who would fit in well and can handle the stress of the job.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for town manager?
It's very sober right now. Can I tell the deer story again?
I actually feel bad. I feel like we might be a little cursed for you because the day we hire you, we have the flood, the town hall flood. I think it was that Saturday that our lift station got tatered
Thursday.
off the highway.
I
No,
thought
it was
about that
Thursday.
this morning.
Well,
Comes
you
in
hit the
threes,
third
it's done.
one, so
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
done.
yeah.
You're done.
Three is a charm or whatever.
Exactly. No more.
You know, I do have one question, Scott. I know maybe it was a few meetings back that one of the citizens brought some information that's in one of our packets about a moratorium on building. And I don't know much about that, and I was hopeful at some point we would be able to discuss that a little bit more, because it sounds like we're drowning in building, and we have someone doing this for 14 hours a week that we are paying a lot for. So I'm not for this meeting because it's not on the agenda, but I'm just wondering, what is the harm in focusing on what we already have established and what we already have in the hopper versus what else is coming? And again, this is just one
That'll be
opinion.
something that the trustees will have to, the majority will have to want to do. I would be looking to Michael to give me what responsibility we have to what we've already committed to. I wouldn't even phrase it as a building freeze. You're not gonna freeze. You're gonna have you already have lots of subdivisions that could be building and are building, right? It's the additional workload. It's like if you were cutting hair and you could do 10 a day, but you had 20 show up. You just can't do it. So you're still cutting hair, you're still building and developing and growing, but you're staying within your means until you handle more. So that's a possibility. Clearly, it's, I think, a legal issue. I've never been in a situation where we've had to do that, but I've come pretty darn close, you know, and with some of the towns I've been at. But it's a really unusual time right now with cost of living and things that you may want to consider understanding the limitations of your organization to handle more until you get the ones you have done.
So, Marie, are we getting any response on the planner? Do we have a planner community development listing again?
So I think we're going to revisit that. Scott and I are going to revisit this week. So, but as of right now, no, we, that position end dated. So we're re-looking at posting potentially this week.
I would recommend that it be continuous. Like if the post ends, we start another.
Yeah, I 100%
You know,
agree. I had no idea we weren't soliciting
we shouldn't
for that.
we shouldn't have a break in time on that just because we really need that position. We need some applicants. So Not gonna get any if we don't have a post out there.
I agree.
Yeah, we need to keep that open. Is there any other questions, concerns?
I'm wondering if there's like an internship option or something where, I like what Scott said about, you can learn on the job, but if there's interns, there are people who go to school to be planners, and so maybe there is opportunity for them to, once we do hire someone, what if we had a program to help them learn and grow, or if we can't hire someone, we still need this position. So I'm just wondering if there's that, non-traditional opportunity to have someone at least assist.
Internships are great, but then you gotta have somebody who mentors them and knows what they're doing, and there's extra time then have to be dedicated to the intern. The issue with the industry itself and having not enough people out there, I don't know what to say. It just seems like it's quite obvious to everybody I talk to. Our planner, Dan, he works 10 other communities. And he's got a community in Minneapolis or Minnesota. And so you just would think there'd be people, if there were people, they'd be climbing over themselves to get a job in Bayfield, I think, because it's a beautiful place to be. But so it's something I think we'd be open to, but we first got to get somebody on board that really knows their stuff.
Okay.
I know the county has a hard time keeping planners in too. I mean, they're going through them all the time.
Yeah.
And it's,
a lot of stress and it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Well, I know when I was working for the Building and Planning Department of Archuleta County, the county had hired 2 brand-new planners out of college. One came from Arizona and one came from Michigan. So maybe we just need to start trolling the colleges for potential graduates.
We've talked a little bit about
Yeah.
that, and so we'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah, I trust you guys.
okay, up next is Parks and Trails.
I know it, that's what's so hurtful, is you have mine next to you, and I can't, is there a knob that you can turn the volume up on this speakers? Is there a volume, is there 1 to 10, or where are we?
11.
I heard a doctor sent me a new bill the other day, and it said, you're probably not gonna like this, because these are ringing in your ears.
I understand, Teddy.
Because I'm handicapped. I fought for my country.
Yes.
2 and a half in Vietnam.
Yes.
So that I stayed extra time so my brother wouldn't have to go. I've worked hard all my life. I'm a master of 4 or 5 professions.
I understand.
I don't ask for nothing that I don't deserve. And you can sit here and stare mad at me if you want to. You know, they remind me of Trump walk, and you do that.
Hey, Teddy, it's okay, Teddy. It's okay.
All right, all right.
How loud is that thing turned up? You got the microphone in it, doesn't it not work?
Yes, it works.
Hello, hello. Didn't hear a thing.
I don't know.
Didn't hear a thing.
Do you want to use this one?
No, unidirectional, you gotta get right into it, Again.
That's not gonna work.
Testing. Scott.
Is that better, Teddy?
I have a question. Can we look into a way that somebody could plug into the speaker system potentially with a headset?
Sounds like an ADA program.
That's what I'm saying. Something to look
yeah.
into for him. I mean, at least so.
We'll look into it, see if there's a way of doing that.
Scott, there is. I'm happy to talk to you about that. I actually have
is
a
there?
state system in my garage right now that maybe
really?
we could test out here because it's not being used.
If we had like headphones that we'd check out, and then
Yeah.
that might be the way of going.
Yeah.
Certainly
I think if
We have
you've
a
got
system
it,
that it
yeah.
hooks when you have any kind of assisted hearing device, it can
Yeah.
hook right into the system.
Because we appreciate you coming, Teddy. Teddy?
Teddy, are you aware of what we're discussing right now? Because we're actually trying to come up with a solution for you. Okay? Well, that's because I'm being very loud to everybody else. It's okay, but we're trying to find a solution for you because we do understand.
I didn't ask to go to
No,
Of course not.
We know.
Of course not.
blew up $147 million worth of ammo from here to the second bridge. You expect me to go the rest of my life in here?
Well, that's why we're trying to find a solution, but until then, I'm sorry if you can't hear some of this, but I'm being extremely loud in this room right now.
Good, that's good. My high school,
Not everybody's gonna be as loud as me.
my high school English teacher was a professional movie star. She could sit up there and talk and you could understand every word she said, but because she talks, she don't mumble, she don't talk too fast, she don't talk too slow. And I highly recommend you all go get some classes in public speaking. I've got a book at home written by the man that makes.
Teddy,
Okay.
Teddy, can we
All right.
get back to our meeting? No, I do, but we
Okay.
have a meeting that we're trying to
Okay.
hold to.
So,
I
Mark,
understand. I do.
Mark, we're on department reports.
Okay. So the park report for last month, normal operations. We're having some very unseasonable weather. It's been very warm. So we've been able to do a lot of stuff outside, which is great, and help us in the spring to be caught up. We're also performing a very thorough vehicle equipment maintenance inspections on all of our inventory. We follow manufacturer guidelines and complete the required maintenance based on the hours or miles on all of our vehicles and equipment. So we are probably like 80% done with all that, so we're ahead of schedule on that as well. We do currently have 3 bids on the Gosney Park shade structure. We got one from Pro Playgrounds, Summit, and Willie Goat. I included all that into your packet. Pro Playgrounds did come in with the lowest bid, and as you know, we used them last year for the Mesa shade structure, and overall had a good experience with that company. So I would recommend, and I'm sure it's in the action agenda, to move forward with that company and get this job done through Pro Playgrounds in the spring or summer. We currently have 2 bids on the vault toilet for Little Pine Park. I'm waiting for one other company. I've been in conversation with them via email and should have that by our next meeting, so we can start moving forward with that and make a decision there. As far as the park shop go, and I've kind of discussed this with Jeremy, I do believe that we need to get with, our town engineer and get some plans. A lot of these bigger contractors want plans before they'll give us an estimate. So I only have one. He did actually build the park shop, so he's very, very familiar. So it was not that hard for him to provide an estimate. He did come in under the cost that we have, so that does leave room for engineering and architectural work, so we're good there. But it would still be nice to get 3 bids and see what we're looking at, even though the one contractor did come in under budget on his bid. Other than that, that's basically what we've been working for, preparing for spring and just trying to get all these capital improvements in line. That way we're not trying to deal with all the maintenance and be doing this at the same time. So we're trying to get this done as quickly as possible while we have the downtime.
And no snow.
And no snow. Yeah, I think we better prepare for fire because it is super dry. So.
I would agree.
Right.
I have another local contractor that I can give you his name if you want to get one more bid. Just
Sure.
yeah, I'll be sure and happy to give
Yeah.
it to you.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's within our code that you have to have an
3.
architect drawings to go proceed on that building.
Right. Yeah, I thought we could get bids and then do the architectural work.
Well,
and
they
the
don't know what they're
engineering,
bidding on.
But they don't, you're exactly right. They need to know what they're bidding on. We gave them specs, what we're looking for, size, give them all the information that we would want in the structure, but they still want plans, so, which is understandable.
What did we have budgeted for the shade structure?
I think we're at 52,
I'm not on that one.
52.1 or something like that.
And with the other structure in Mesa Park, it was a 50,000 budget, but we had 35 of that earmarked for a grant. Do you know anything about what happened to that grant? Are we gonna apply it to here instead?
I don't think we had that earmarked for a grant.
It was in the
that
budget
I remember.
last
It was in
year
the budget last year.
as a $35,000
Okay.
grant towards that. But we just paid out the 50,000.
Right.
So I just wondered where that $35,000 grant is. I mean, not that we didn't get it, obviously.
Right.
But is it available to go after it for
The
this
grants
shade structure?
that I saw, yes, and what they want is an invoice after you've paid for the structure to be installed
Reimbursement.
itself, and then they will provide grant funding for that. For like the Cancer Association to help with kids, you know, preventing skin cancer and stuff like that.
So-
Those are the grants that I've found on shade structures.
So we can still
We
get
can
a
still do
grant
it.
on
Yes, ma'am.
Mesa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Without
So-
a community development or a planner and us, you know, only being 3 of us, it's kind of hard for us to tackle that. Last year I did the tree grant, so that took a lot of my time, but definitely something we could look at and try to move forward with.
Any other questions?
No. Thank you.
Concerns?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Leave that up.
Chief?
Mayor, Board, good evening. Our December numbers, if you look at them in total events, we went up again, and I just did the January numbers this morning, and we're even higher. So we're at 565 calls for January. So we keep going up every month in the call volume for service in town. So the officers are busy. They're out there doing their job, doing everything that I've asked of them, and they're doing very well. A lot of our investigations are going to be coming to a close here in the next, I say, 3 to 4 weeks, because we're finally starting to get stuff back in from the lab. I also met with HR yesterday. We've come up with a plan to advertise, properly advertise for hopefully a lateral, but we will open it up for new officers as well, because the academy will start in July. And by the time I get done through the testing and the background, it's going to be time to put them through the academy if we just get a new officer as well. As far as the budget and everything like that, we're in line with everything we did. I did talk to the mayor after the flood last Tuesday, and with Stone Security, I've put that project on hold until we get a better grip on what's going on with the flood. So we'll keep that project on the shelf for a while.
Okay.
Questions?
Not for me.
Not me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Public Works?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
No?
No.
Jeremy.
All right. Anyway, it's kind of, a lot of the information in here is from December. We missed that second meeting because of the flood last Tuesday, so really don't have a whole lot to report. We did have a couple sewer backups over the holidays, which is not unusual. We have a lot of people home and a lot
Visitors.
of relatives and higher flows coming in. Like Mark mentioned, snow equipment's operating well. We drove the sander once so far. So it has been out, it runs. We know we can throw sand, but other than that, it's been really dry this year. The big thing is the icing on Buck Highway.
Yeah.
So if you guys noticed on 521, we were down there fixing some potholes. That ice is really breaking that road up, getting underneath that overlay. And so we're trying to take care of that in a timely fashion. I guess the big thing that's not in my report is the 160B lift station. So we did have a driver come off the road, completely destroyed that lift station. So we got Ball Septic on contract. They're pumping it once a day. Luckily, it only serves about 10 houses. So we're able to just do 24-hour with Ball. They've been about between 9 and 10, about 1,500 gallons. So to date, from the 23rd when it got hit, we spent $9,560 in septic system pumping. We'll hopefully have power back out there by the end of the week, and we're going to try and get a temporary pump installed. We're probably looking 6 to 8 weeks for a new controller. If we can get a temporary submersible pump in, we can go over there and pump it down once a day. The guys can go manually operate that. So fingers crossed, if everything goes well into next week, hopefully we can have a temporary pump installed, submersible. We can get rid of the septic pumper, and then we'll be back kind of, well, not really to normal, but we'll stop accruing that septic hauling cost.
Will our insurance cover not just the repair of the lift station, but will it cover some of the costs that are associated with not having the lift station right now?
Yeah, with the hauling costs,
Okay.
that is too. And I've submitted those. Dustin's been working. We actually have 3 claims open right now.
Wow.
We have town hall flood, the pump house. We had a tree fall through the skylights over there that we're going to look at with the insurance adjuster, and then the lift station. So it's been kind of crazy
Yeah.
right now. So like Scott said, we'll talk a little bit more. The silver lining is all the remediation work seems to be done with the flood. So we don't have any more fans, cords, hoses. That's good. Volume, so we're kind of getting back to a little bit of normalcy other than being short some office space upstairs. But that's a topic coming up a little bit later. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you guys had questions. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention, the penalty holiday is coming up. It was in my report. We've had 5 formal submittals for payment plans, and that's something I think that probably should be addressed on how we're going to approach maybe some of those delinquent bills. Penalties are coming up here pretty soon. So
Are they before our next meeting?
no.
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 Can we put that on the agenda, Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it might be something that we want to talk about formally. We have, I think, 300 customers that were delinquent last time I talked to Kristen, utility billing. So it's quite a few, 30%.
We're down to 150.
That's
oh, yay.
still a
So we're down to
lot.
150. So there you go. 30 to 15.
Next meeting, it might be 50.
Yeah, and then we won't have to talk about it. But it is something that's coming up, and the citizens aren't concerned, so we probably need to have a little bit more lengthy discussion about that.
Well, if we need to, let's get it on the agenda,
Okay.
If we need
the
to.
next agenda.
Yeah. But other than that, that's all I had for you.
Thank you.
Jeremy,
Thanks,
do you
Jeremy.
know, with the citations with the state for the Mustang Crossing, have they been cleared yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if there's been any type of a release for that stormwater permit from the state.
Okay.
And we still are currently having our town engineer go through. We did do the final inspection for water, sewer, streets, sidewalks, and then we also, when Catherine was in last time, are inspecting the stormwater facility. That's not necessarily our requirement, but we felt
Right.
that it was important to do that due diligence
Yeah.
and make sure that it is built per design. So no report back yet, and all those improvements will be coming before you guys for approval once we get the recommendation from the town engineer. So
Okay.
either recommendation for approval or denial, either way, but.
Yeah.
that'll-
And that'll be also based on those citations being cleared. Excellent. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Great.
correct.
Great. Thank you.
One more.
Sure.
What's the difference on Buck Highway this year, that there's so much
Ice.
ice on it?
Just it got cold and that whole hillside weeps with the springs.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any snow to insulate. Typically that snow will be an insulator and it'll allow it to drain.
Oh.
It just kept freezing further and further out.
Okay.
We were over there and then we also, I mean, we don't have a grader. So we did try and scrape some of that ice. We used some ice melt, but we kind of were doing a little more damage, I think, than we were doing good. But that was the difference this year. And we also had a ton of meter freeze ups. We've been chasing over the last month. We've probably had 30 with frost plates and things. Just without that snow for insulation, it gets down into the negative numbers, and we start getting water meter freeze ups and stuff. So
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was wondering that too.
Yeah.
Good evening. Okay, mine department report was from January. So I guess I'll give you a couple updates. The first one is that KRW did post the permanent town manager position. It's open till February 7th, so this Friday. And a little bit later we can talk a little bit about that. One important thing that happened in January is that because of the holidays and I was out on PTO, the original plan was to add benefits to the first payroll of the month. But there just was not enough time because of the chaos that happened before. I was like, I'm not doing it. We're going to wait. We're going to hold off. We're going to add the benefits to the second payroll. So that went well. Gary added those in the payroll department. We added all of the 10% increase for staff for the first payroll. So far, knock on wood, things are hopefully finally getting better with the payroll department. So that is good news. Kathy and I are still working on those GL reports. We had them all worked out, and then for whatever reason, they had to go back and fix them, and then it kind of changed everything. So finally today, I think we have the last one for January ready to go, and it should be the correct template moving forward. So that will be good. We interviewed for the senior center coordinator position. We actually have hired. She has already started, so that is exciting.
What's
And
her name?
Her name is Callan Blackledge.
Say that again?
Callan Blackledge. Yep. And let's see, Tamis did a great job during January, subbing in before Callan was hired. So I think that's it for right now.
I do have one question. With the delay on the insurance on the payroll.
Yep.
How does that affect the staff?
So 24 out of 26 payrolls benefits were going to be deducted. So since the first one in January, we did not deduct. Instead of December, where there would originally be 2 payrolls where we wouldn't deduct for benefits, there's only going to be 1. So it'll be the last payroll of December where we won't deduct for benefits.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Questions? Thank you. Action agenda, MOU, Upper Pine. Update and discussion.
Can you hear that okay, Teddy? Good? Okay. Got it. Okay. So we haven't heard anything from you folks. Kind of expected the legal counsel would have a result back to us. It was a 2-page MOU. My understanding is we were at a phone call to CDOT. Mike McVeigh, who's a retired CDOT engineer, is kind of waiting in the wings. We've had him on standby now for 3 weeks. I'm really not going to hold him another week as he's got other projects that are available to him that he can take. So we're just waiting on you folks. So just out of curiosity, a planner is $10,000 a month and 14 hours. That's $700 an hour.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. So
14 hours a week.
14 hours a week.
Yeah, that's what I think we heard.
Yeah.
So,
Still.
It's a little bit high.
yeah.
I
So,
think more like 200 and something, but I don't know. Still a lot.
okay.
Do we have any updates on the MOU, Attorney Goldman?
CDOT is your contractor with regards to this, and there's a very specific provision within that contract that specifically states that in order for there to be any sort of subcontracting or assignability of the contract, the town of Bayfield must obtain written consent from the state and CDOT before that can happen.
Okay.
I've consulted with Upper Pine's attorney. The Upper Pine's attorney totally agrees that that has to occur. And to date, I don't believe that CDOT has provided any sort of written consent to do just that.
Okay. We'll work on CDOT from our end then. So.
I think it'll be important to kind of get a summary of how far you're going to extend your responsibilities to the fire department. And then you're going to have necessary oversight in that to do it. And I think that while CDOT may or may say, yeah, you could have a third party do this for you, they would want to probably ensure that the responsibility still falls on you, and that you probably have good controls and oversight in this agreement, So, we could do, you know, I've got some calls in. I wanted to have a meeting with you and whoever else you thought was in this. I called you on Thursday, and we still need to do that. And I think we could flesh out exactly how, or not exactly, just generally how we think this is going to play out, and then take that to CDOT, and then they may give us a little direction then too. We'll have to change it. But I think we need to first get a feel for that and show them that, hey, we're going to stay responsible for this. We're going to get this job done, and this is how the two are going to work together. So.
Yeah, and just why I mentioned Mike's name, I think some of you may know Mike, but he's a retired CDOT engineer, and our conversation was with CDOT. They were excited to see him, that we were pulling him into the project. So he's definitely done these things. He's retired from CDOT after 20-some years. So he definitely has the knowledge and experience, and he certainly knows all the people over at the Region 5 office. My concern with this, and again, if you guys don't want it, just tell us and we'll go away, and we got plenty of other things to do. It's going to be a record fire season, unfortunately. And you know, you've got some contractors, several of them in the audience here, that have been waiting on this intersection for a decade. So just looking at the Trimble Crossing 550 stoplight, that went in 4 months after it was approved. 4 months. So you've got a project here that's languished that a lot of these developers are waiting on. I know that Maverick is waiting to sign with Charlie and his group on that project over there. Now that's a huge sales tax revenue for the town. And as you guys know, whether it's going to be Cinnamon Heights or a busted lift station or God knows all the sewer requirements that are required and wastewater stuff that the town is going to have to incur, there's a lot of expenses coming forward to this town. I mean, we're talking about not having a comparable wage for a planner. You need these rooftops just as much as we do to make sure that you can pay for a lot of the stuff in the future. You know, and nothing's getting cheaper. You know, as they talked about, you know, the sludge removal being doubled. Fire trucks are now $800,000 for a basic fire truck, $1.2 million for a ladder truck right off the lot with no frills on it, no equipment. So nothing is getting cheaper, and the only way that you're going to combat this, and I think you guys have already done this, you've gone to the public and asked for either sales tax increases or you've asked for mill levy increases, and they've been defeated by the public. This fall, I think we're going for a sales tax initiative. I've heard the school potentially is going to be going for a bond increase. You've got the road bridge from the county potentially going to be floated this November too. So there's a lot of stuff out there right now that the public is either saying no to, and we don't know where our sales tax initiative is going to go, or you know, if it's going to be successful or not. So, like I said, unfortunately, the only way out of this is not to tax the public out of their existence, but is to increase the rooftops. And I know there's some people that are not pro-growth here, but a little bit of growth is needed just for the economy of scale here. So, like I said, I think 4 of the contractors that we've dealt with are really hot to trot to make sure that this intersection is done. And like I said, there's rooftops with tax revenue and there's sales tax revenue for the town that are all key, that is going to increase your bottom line for a lot of expenses that I've heard tonight that are going to be troublesome to pay for.
So I think that's very important, the dollars here, because you need a summary of where you may end up. Right now, the numbers don't add up as far as enough money to cover this project. You don't want to have gotten committed to the point where you're going to have to come up with $1 million from somewhere. You need to, and if you do, you should at least at this point, when you get into this thing, be ready for it and rather than be surprised. So it's important that we try to figure out a plan that says, here are the possible ways to get this done, and then also there's certain points where we may decide, hey, we can't pull it together, or we can pull it together. But you don't just willy-nilly run into a project when you don't have enough money in your pocket to do it. You've got to have some idea if you can afford to do it. I'm all for the project. It's extremely important. Yes, I agree. Rooftops, you get to the point where they're you're exporting your sales tax right now. Everybody runs off to Durango, so you're losing all that. When you get enough people, they'll stay here and spend the money. And it doesn't happen automatically,
Right.
but it's sometime in the future, you will have enough houses from the intersection project that you'll be able to retain sales tax. And that could be the argument for spending a bunch of money if you have to come up with your own money. Yeah, we're gonna get it back in 10 years, but you should understand it rather before we go too much further.
What about the other concept of we take a loan and then as the builders build more homes and stuff, they put a portion into that paying off that loan? I mean, that would make it happen a little bit faster, and then it's not on the current citizens, it's on the projects that are being built in the future.
That's some of the things that could be developed if the fire department is brought in to try to plan that out as far as, yeah, you could probably get a loan. I don't know exactly what favorable terms and that, and things are getting really tight right now with, money cost, but that's one approach, yeah.
Well, one of the things I'm frustrated with is that I've wanted to know where we're at on this project since October. And I don't know who's looking at, I mean, we've been without a community development director, we don't have a planner, we were going in between town managers, staff is overworked with having to cover all of that. But this is something that I think was approved when I was on the board and I was off the board in April and came back in October. And so I would just like to know, just from someone, a status update. Because I thought that there were grants covering this. I don't know who is supposed to be working on it now. Like, I don't know why it's not already in. And I know before Katie left, I was like, where are we at on all of this? And it just, I never received that information. So I thought that working with the fire department meant they're just going to take us to the finish line, because for all I know, this has just been sitting, waiting for someone to do something. Is CDOT just not doing something? Is it the town?
No. So we have supposedly, depending, a congressional grant of the amount of, what is it here? $1.5 million.
You actually have 1.8 million. So CDOT threw in another 380,000 for you.
Okay, there you go. So we've got that, but that's just the initial startup, as I understand. Yeah. Now, the caveat is this money may not come to us.
Okay, so I got to correct you on some things.
Trump pulled back congressional spending, and then he rescinded, but it's still out there.
I don't think that applies to ones that are already approved.
No, it does. It does. I talked to Senator Bennett's office. So it does. And
so you guys have a contract already signed by Governor Polis.
We understand that.
And that 1.8 million has been put in a sequestered account over at CDOT. So and that this is the problem that I think you're going to have, and it may materialize and may not, is it could be pulled back. But you have, you also have, and I don't know how many people are on the board here in 2022, but you guys passed a resolution where you're paying SEH, I think it's $188,000 to bring this thing up to permit level. Now, I don't know what has happened, and this is a question that we can't get an answer on, is we don't know where SEH is at on this thing. Now, CDOT has said they've seen a 30% drawing, and they've approved a 30% drawing. I think Ezra's people may say that they've seen and have been billed for a 90% drawing. I think before Katie left, she told me they were at a 60% drawing. So we don't know. And you can't get that answer out of anybody that seems to know what's going on with that. So I think next board meeting, you should call SEH in here and ask them for some accountability on the resolution that you passed. And we have that resolution that was passed by the town trustees that allotted an X number of dollars. And then we have the contract that has been signed by everybody that needs to sign it, that sequestered that money and put it in CDOT's account. Now, maybe Bennett's office has it wrong, but Hickenlooper's office says that money's already been given And he personally made sure that it went through quickly so that it got put somewhere where it couldn't be touched by some of the shenanigans that are going on now with grant money.
Well, the other question that I have that I haven't gotten clarity around is, since this is congressional spending, I don't think that we can subordinate to you to do the work. So depending on how that contract is written, we still have to be the top point person,
You are.
and you would be a facilitator of that, but I need to be sure that that's acceptable by the state.
Again, lots of good questions.
Mm-hmm.
We should get together, the fire
Yes.
district, administration.
And SEH.
CDOT, et cetera, and try to answer all these questions. Bring that to you so you fully understand it.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be resolved here.
No.
Back
Correct.
and forth, because it's, nobody's gonna have a good answer. You need to first sort that out and then bring it to you and say, yeah, we confirmed that they haven't done their job or whatever. Or yes, we have confirmed they're where they're supposed to be. But we should do that outside, bring that to you, give you a chance to read things over and do it that way. So I would think maybe next week or whenever
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
available, we could pull,
I
we
think the
could
clock is
identify the
ticking.
proper
So-
people that should be involved, which is certainly you, and this other gentleman who's a former CDOT person. And let's sit down and start writing out the questions to make a summary that everybody will understand.
Yeah, and I think, does the town trustees all have both documents, the previous history where you guys passed a resolution, and then the December 4th contract that was signed by Katie, Governor Polis, the CDOT person, and the state controller?
It would be great if that could be pulled again, because I know that I did not keep all of those documents after I left
Yeah.
the board.
So we can certainly supply the documents back over to you so you can read them. I mean, we've read them in thoroughly to make sure that we're within our rights to do what you need to get done, and trying to help you out and take a little bit of load off of the acting town manager's plate. But like I said, we've been through those documents head to toe, and are quite well aware of what's going on with them. But there's some confusion on what SCH has actually done, and we don't know where they're at, and we can't seem to get an answer on that. So.
Well, the Southwest TPR meeting is coming up on the 13th. And so I'd like to see if we can meet before then to get some clarity, and then we can bring it up at that meeting as well and go from there. And maybe our questions will be answered. But I want to see this project through, and I want to make sure it gets done. And whatever we need to do to move forward, I want to see it happen.
This was one of
I
our
agree.
priorities identified as a board.
This was a priority back when I first got on the board, and Matt was already on the board.
It's a
It's been
project-
been
it's a
there
priority
for a
when I was
while.
on the board 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I also want to make sure that you were aware that there was $500,000 from the school for that as well, to take that into consideration.
The engineering.
It's not a
I
bond.
believe.
No, it's not.
And I know Ezra has put a ton of his personal money into this too. I don't even want to speak for Ezra about how much money he's put into this project, which, so you have 3 different funding streams that have all gone into a project that has been sitting there for at least a decade, and that shouldn't. And in matter of fact, we've even gone as far as to look at some of the bids on some of the controlling material, so the lights and the controller that would control that intersection, and we're being assured that that shouldn't be over $700,000. So, like I said, it's up to you guys. I mean, like I said, we're trying to help out here, but I feel like I'm in a Jerry Maguire moment. I'm trying to ask you to help me to help you, and I'm not sure where we're at with that. So.
Well, I think we all have agreed that we want it to happen, so I would meet with our interim town manager this week to get all the nuts and bolts, bring it back to us. Let's make it happen. I mean, and we
Again-
have to wait for that one thing from,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just remember, you also have to deal with your contractor, with
Right.
the
That's why I said-
contracting entity, and that's CDOT.
right, we have to wait for that communication, but you're going to work on your end from that
It is
too.
a significant document.
It
It has
is.
a lot of requirements.
Yeah.
And at least in 2 occasions in that contract, it's very specific about your ability to assign and/or subcontract. I think it's wonderful if you have the opportunity and you can get that written express consent. That's great, but that has to be done. And my experience with CDOT over the last 30, 35 years is these kinds of things don't happen overnight. But if it does, fantastic.
Yeah. And
Fingers
I
crossed.
can tell you that CDOT personally told me that they want this off their plate. So, I get it, so.
Well, I'm gonna hear that and walk away hearing that.
They want it off their plate.
Fingers crossed.
So, and again, the way, as Kat mentioned, the way that some of these grants are being pulled back, I personally think it's a risk. I mean, we deal with a lot of grants, so we've had 2 of our grants be put on hold. And then we've had one of our grants start asking for very detailed information that for the last 6 or 8 years, we were able to just submit a bill, they paid it, now they want all kinds of documentation from the exact same process and exact same way. So they're definitely a new sheriff in town, and the plethora of money that was out there from grant programs, I'm not sure if it's gonna stay or if
Right.
it's gonna go.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you, Chief. I don't want it to seem that we don't. I just don't want to get the cart before the horse, and it sounds like there's steps that we have to take.
Right.
But I appreciate you sort of letting the fire and keeping it there, and I'm all for it. So,
Yeah, me too.
you know, I do appreciate you
Yeah,
and your
you know,
willingness.
we were asked by the contractors, what's the dog in the fight for the fire department or for the fire district? And just looking if the contractors, some of them that are in the audience, if they build 20% of what they say they're gonna build, which has already been through the planning committee and approved, it's probably $1 million plus in revenue from impact fees and new rooftops and commercial assessments that could come into the fire district. And that's just under 1/4 of our budget. So God knows what it is for you guys with sales tax and revenue from rooftops and commercial assessments.
Yep.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
So
Thanks, Chief.
can we keep this on the agenda for next week and keep updates going so we know where we're at? Please?
Next session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Derek McCoy. I've been involved in the Bayfield East project kind of since the beginning, putting the parcels together, and we've worked a long time to get permission to break the A-line and make the intersection happen where it's happening now. Part of that was dates back to when they built the school, the intermediary school. The landowners donated easements to get up to the school, and in turn got that $500,000 you're talking about, Brennan. There's been multiple landowners be involved out there with that effort, and there's been about $250,000 spent of those landowners' money trying to get this thing moving along. We ended up turning it over to the town to let them push it through because they, had the resources and the contacts and everything to maybe get it done quicker than we were getting it done. So it's languished, and you guys need to hear from SCH as to where they're at in the process, because they'll be able to tell you where they're at. If you're not talking to them, you're paying them, and you have a contract with them, so you need to ask them. So if you guys have any questions about how we got where we're at, I maybe could answer those.
No,
We probably do, but
Yeah.
on our consensus, we'd like to have all the information together and have a summary and be prepared and ready. It's
Yeah.
not really on the
Yeah, I think
details of that isn't on the
you need to
agenda
reach
for
out to
tonight.
SEH and understand exactly where you're at in the contract you have with them, and we understand that contract's active, and it's not to the end of the contract at all. But I don't think you guys have heard from them maybe at all in the last several months, really. So that would be my advice to you guys, is to get with SEH.
So I'm wondering too, do you think, Michael, that the holdup with SEH is that document that we're needing? No.
It's
Two separate
It's an
issues.
apple.
Okay,
versus
great.
orange.
All right, just asking the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Team, was this something that was under Nicole, under community development prior?
I mean, it actually was there before Nicole.
Yeah.
But she was working on it, yeah.
Okay, because I'm just trying to figure out why it's so difficult to get any updates on
I
this.
actually think that the progression happened more with Nicole
Yeah.
than it did prior to that. I think it was just a,
Thought we had an update from her before she left, that they were at 90% with the plans.
right.
But that's not what we're hearing tonight.
But if
We're
they're not
hearing-
answering them back, I mean, it could still be 90%. We just need to touch base with them.
Yeah, Katie's last memo on all of the grants was the congressional spending is 1.5 plus CDOT's adding in their signal dollars, and we'll send the document to the mayor for his signature. That was her last update. So there's supposed to be something coming to you.
Well, that signature was that? Wasn't that
I
You're
think I
talking about
signed
the,
that.
you're
I
talking
already
about the
signed that.
resolution,
Yeah, no,
644.
no.
I already signed that.
Yeah, you already
Yeah.
signed that.
You're talking about resolution 644, which is the
I
agreement.
don't remember what number it was. I couldn't tell you.
So
I'm
if
not
someone
trying to
could
be- I
get
just
the,
don't know.
the sprinkler system and the lift stations and the deer under control, then maybe we can figure out what's going on with the East Intersection project. Because there's just been a lot coming down on wall staff at this point, so it would be,
I need a meeting with the parties that are interested.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll move on to the skate park payment of the half payment.
So, yeah, I know we've been talking about the skate park for some time. You all aware of the reason why we want to replace this equipment? We have approved it in the budget. Katie and I made it priority before she left to go over the contract with American Ramp Company, and we executed that contract and sent that back to them. They're willing to start work in the middle of May, and the concrete contractor is willing to do the concrete repairs before then. Part of their contract is a 50% down payment to order this equipment and schedule it to be installed. So I recommend that we have a signed contract, everything's in writing. I see no reason why not to give them the amount they're asking, as well as the concrete contractor as well for their down payment to get that work done.
I was curious, is both the skate park and that cement work all in one project? Is that all one, but there's two different
Correct.
contractors?
So it'd be two different vendors, but all
Great.
under the same budget, which both of
Yes.
them are within that.
Yeah, I was
Actually,
looking at your
under
budget
our-
for it.
Yeah,
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 no, it looks good.
right.
I don't have any problem with that.
When I was looking at the quote, do we need I saw that there were signs and we're not doing one. Do we have a sign out there that, gives just basic rules of using the park?
Yeah, it's been tore down several times.
Okay, so that, okay.
If you go out and look at it, you'll see where we've repaired it to keep it up. We've replaced the wood post with a metal post,
Okay.
and they ripped the sign off the metal post. So we attached it with even thicker metal.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got a lot, the issues have kind of resolved with, people going over there and vandalizing with lighting it up and the police, being more aware of what's going on over there. But yeah, it is up, the rules are there.
Okay.
Just like all of our other park signs.
I thought there was, but when I was looking at the proposal, it was like no, we don't need this. And I was like, do we have one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
We have one.
And then along those same lines is the sign. When they put the shade structure up at Mesa, they put a sign that's a little confusing because it says this is provided by their company, but it's really only the shade structure that's provided by their company. With this skate park equipment, there won't be any signage from the skate park saying anything about their equipment.
Yeah, and if you look in the contract, we could get that information put on there, but
No, we
did-
don't.
We don't, yeah, so we did not authorize that in the contract.
No signs.
No signs.
Because that one's kind of an advertisement up there. in a way.
Personally, I guess I've missed that. Is it on the
It's on the left side. It's
poles
separate from the rest of them.
structure, or is it?
No, it's separate sign.
Because we didn't authorize that, so I will look into that for
Oh,
you.
okay. And the other thing on the skate park, so we're just, we're not getting a new pad, we're just
No.
repairing the one that's there.
And from looking at it, it looks structurally sound. I'm sure there's rebar in it. The cracks that are in there are like a half inch. They're not giant cracks. It's not lifting. I would say there's probably around 70 yards of concrete on that slab. Concrete's over $200 plus demo plus prep. You're probably looking well over $10,000 just for a slab. So for me, I don't see the reason to tear it out and just have it repaired.
But has the company confirmed with you that it's gonna be okay to put the equipment on top of it?
Yes.
Okay, and
yes.
they've looked at both?
They've actually came on site. The project manager that's handling this job came on site. I've met with him, we've looked at it, and there was no issues with that. So
Okay.
they're just really waiting for money so they can get going.
And then the other thing is, do we have a plan to keep it safe and
So we'll
protected?
I mean,
Like the police, do you have a plan?
oh, as
and-
far as public safety?
As far as public safety, there's a lot of.
Right, they do extra patrols through there a lot. I see them, I don't know about during the night, I'm not there to see, but I do see them during the day over there. You know, and as far as, you know, the safety of the equipment, we do inspect that and keep it up to par with our inspections. But public safety, when I first started here, it was a major concern over there. But we've kind of got the handle on that.
Plus the extra lighting too. That
Right.
helped a lot.
The extra lighting has helped tremendously because now you can see from the roadway of what people are doing. Before that, they were over there having parties and breaking bottles and
Playing
God
in the
knows
dark.
what. So
There's no cameras on those lights.
we're in the process. We're in the process.
That's part of the stone security build
Right.
for next year.
Okay.
Which
Thank
will
you.
help immensely. I mean, that'll help catch the people that are doing this stuff, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? So we're looking for a motion.
Do you need two? Because there's two separate. There's one for American Ramp Company and one for Rocky Mountain Resurfacing. So do you need two motions?
Might be cleaner.
Okay, we'll do that. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve that Kathy Cathcart, Bayfield Finance Director, pay the 50% down in the amount of $23,854.55 to American Ramp Company.
I will second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Kathy Cathcart, Bayfield Finance Director, to pay 50% down to Rocky Mountain Resurfacing in the amount of $2,000 per the estimate number 188.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Street sweeper.
Hey, good evening again, Mayor and Trustees. I did put together a purchase request. This is in the budget for a street sweeper. During the budget season, we look at multiple different street sweepers, Elston, Timeco. One with this multi-hog being a multi-purpose vehicle. We can add additional accessories. It's not just a street sweeper if we decided to in the past, and then it was also cheaper than the other three we looked at. So that's what the quote's in, your budget. I know prior to hiring Scott, the new town manager, we did discuss that all these expenditures over $10,000 will be brought to the board. So we are here today requesting approval of the purchase of the street sweeper.
Questions?
Is this another street sweeper? I don't know why, but for some reason I seem to recall us buying one at some point.
No,
No?
it's not a street sweeper. Right now, what we're using is a backhoe attachment for the John Deere.
Oh, that's what we did.
Yeah, and we get the dust complaints. So this is an actual street sweeper that'll keep the dust
Gotcha.
down with the angle brooms and for the gutters. So it's a street sweeping piece of equipment.
And
It
you-
was in the budget.
And it's in the budget, correct?
Yeah, it's already
Yeah.
been budgeted.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the amount, it's always appropriate to.
I was just trying to
Bring it to you guys.
rack my brain because I recall us doing something when it came to.
I think there is an angle broom that was purchased for Parks and Rec
Yeah.
for the tool hog that they're using for some of the trails and paths and stuff like
That's
this.
what
This
it
would be
was,
for the
yeah.
actual roadways and then the curb and gutter sweepers, Buck Highway downtown and stuff like that.
Okay, makes sense. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to. Oh, sure.
Sure.
David Black, 606 Buck Highway. If there was ever a purchase that we needed,
I was trying to approve it.
now I know, but if there was ever a purchase we needed, because when I was on the board before, I was advocating that we get a street sweeper.
So you're gonna
I
let
mean,
me.
we have paved streets. And it's stupid the way we've been going about it.
Well, now we're
Thank
gonna
God we've got a
correct it.
street sweeper coming. Thank you, Jeremy, for making it happen.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the $166,704.06 to purchase the street sweeper from Hardline Equipment.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further public comment?
He does.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor All.
Yes. KRW status report.
Okay. So today I heard from KRW, and as of right now, they had 6 applicants that applied for the permanent town manager position. 1 withdrew, I believe, last week. 2 do not meet the minimums, and 3 are qualified to move on. So my question to you is if you would like to extend the posting. For the marketing for the position, they said it would cost about $1,500 to $2,000 to keep it open for another couple weeks. They kind of just said it kind of depends where we want to post and see what happens. Yes, we've got 3 more days to see how many applicants will apply, but that's just kind of where we are at right now.
Did they say if we don't like the applicants, what the fee is if we have to open it back up? Is it still that $1,500, $2,000, or is it like a lot more?
So I question too for the attorney, because within the contract, it says that the applicants, well, let's see, KRW will present the spreadsheet and identify a minimum of 8 candidates and a maximum of 12 candidates who are recommended as semifinalists. So based upon that, I understand
we
it to
being
mean
charged?
we're at 3. So we've kind of got a long way to go.
So
Get
I
at
would
least
say
8.
that how can they charge us to reopen it if they haven't provided us with what they agreed to?
Yes.
Correct.
I would go back to them on that.
Agreed, agreed.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I would like to see the 3.
Yeah, so what you have is, in essence, there's a couple of options for the town. One of those options is obviously to exercise its 30-day notice provision, say we are withdrawing or terminating the contract. Apparently, you're 3/4 of the way through on your payments, but that perhaps might save you an additional $6,000. What you've just raised, Ms. Kim, is perhaps an allegation or a claim for breach of contract in that there is a promise that's not being met, and that may be a point of leverage that you may want to bring up if we're going to continue to try and get candidates on that.
I kind of want to see the 3.
Yeah, I'd like to see the candidates because thus far, I am not super impressed with these guys. So I'd like to see what they've
And I
come
can
up
send
with
that
thus
to you
far.
tomorrow morning, because I
That'd be
have
great.
the zip file.
Okay,
So I can send that to you.
that would be great.
All right,
Yeah.
and then,
And then we should revisit how we want to
Well,
proceed.
We can't, are we gonna have a special meeting before Friday?
yeah, we have to make a
We have to make a
decision.
decision tonight.
Can you,
Well, we can't make a decision without seeing the
no, but
applicants.
Well, I think 12 and 8 is a long way from 6 and 3.
yeah.
Right.
It's,
No, I know.
so I think we should at
Can-
least
yeah.
say you're gonna extend it without any additional charge, at minimally. And
Yeah.
ask them, when are they gonna provide what they've contracted to do? When are you, when can you get those 12 people to us? That's the
Yeah,
next
I would ask,
question
they're
to
not
them.
meeting their end of the deal if that's what they say in the contract. But in the meantime, can we see those 3 candidates?
Yep.
Okay.
okay,
So,
We-
sounds like the board is giving Human Resources Director some direction, and she'll report back.
Yeah.
In
That's
2
all right with the
in
mayor.
2
Yeah.
weeks.
Well, I think we should know before then.
Before it
but-
closes.
Before it closes, because it closes on Friday. So if possible, I would say,
We can't make a decision without having a meeting.
right, I understand that. But she might be able to negotiate extending it tomorrow. And if she can, then,
Okay, I was
then
more
we
cons-
don't have to worry about the 2-week.
I was more concerned with
timeframe.
everyone asking to see the candidates and making some kind of judgment from there that,
Well,
or decisions, or telling her to make a decision that she can't do. Because, I mean, we need to do this as a board.
Right,
I'm okay,
yeah.
I get where you're
So what I was thinking is that if she comes back and says, okay, we can extend it, they've agreed to negotiate because they haven't done what they're supposed to so far, then it's not an issue. We can wait until the next board
Correct.
meeting, we can do it all then. If they come back and they say, no, that's not the case, we're not willing to do that, then I think at that point, that's where, you would enact maybe us having a special board meeting and for us to figure out a time that works.
we tentatively probably should figure that out now, so we're not,
That's fine. I can't do Thursday night. That's the only night I can't do.
Friday morning?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Can-
If you can't do Thursday night, Friday morning?
speaking to
look.
the mic.
If you can't do Thursday night, Friday morning?
Let me look.
I can make Friday morning.
Yeah, I
work.
can do Friday morning.
I'll figure it out.
I can also do Friday morning.
I'll figure it out.
That means you'll make it work?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll make it work.
It'd be nice if it was after 9:30 with my current schedule, but if that doesn't work for everyone else, I
Well,
could do a
and-
bright and early 7 a.m.
I'm fine with that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm not thinking 9:30.
Okay,
No,
yes,
no, no.
okay, you're thinking
I gotta
early,
go by
yeah.
9.
Yeah, I could do a very early.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if this is negotiating. It's pretty much just holding them to the contract, saying, wait a minute,
Yeah.
we're not going to pay any more money because you haven't met the terms of the contract thus far.
But we're asking them to
Rather
extend
than
it.
our talking about this now.
Yes.
You're really not beholden to Friday to make any sort of decision, okay? What you have just done is you've given some direction to your human resources person to have a conversation about the extension so as to get perhaps additional candidates
Yes,
pursuant to what they had agreed to do in the first place.
right.
If they don't want to do that and they want to charge you more money and so forth, perhaps that's something that should be reported to you, and then you should take action.
Yes.
You might want to take action on that,
Right.
and you will have options at that point. But those options aren't really before you right now. We've kind of summarily talked about that, but it's really not something you have to decide right now, nor do you have to make that decision by Friday.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if we had to push to Friday.
Well, if we.
They're the ones that have the obligation. for
Yes,
Friday.
So if
exactly.
they don't, so if they say, no, we're not gonna continue
Waive the
it,
fee or-
then as of Friday, we don't have any advertisement for the position out.
And just the three,
That's
yeah.
the thing that's.
And just the
yeah,
three
right.
applicants, and that's
Yeah.
all.
So far, but you've got 3 days.
Right. The other 9
Those
will be
last
here.
minute
Well, there are
applicants.
people who do last minute. That's true. They wait until the last minute.
So I think this is, that is something that can wait. So, I mean, right, you guys were all clear?
I think Friday is just an emergency. If we need
Yeah,
to.
if we need to.
We know a date, we can work it.
But I don't,
And
yeah.
that's.
Okay, so I will send you the applicants that we have tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. Perfect.
Sounds good?
Are you guys sure the air conditioner is not on?
Yeah, something's on. It's cold.
It feels like the air conditioner is blowing.
That's okay. It just means we gotta hurry up.
Yeah, we only have a couple more.
That's nice. Utility police camera.
Yes, under,
In the mic, please.
usually.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you.
That's all right. They are in the budget for 2025 for us to purchase, and per the recommendation of anything over $10,000, we're presenting it to the board again. But it is approved for the 2025 budget. These are mandatory basically because of Senate Bill 217 to make sure that all of our vehicles are up to speed with their in-car cameras and their body-worn cameras. So this is purchase is based upon that.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I feel like your presentation, your original presentation, answered my questions at that time.
Does the board have any questions?
No, none on this.
Then I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the utility police cameras of $33,983.10 and direct Kathy Cathcart, our finance director, to cut the check.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katsas.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Stalker radar.
This is under the same type of thing. It's approved for the 2025 budget right now. With the purchase of the 2 new vehicles, we have 4 vehicles that do not have radar units in them. We had to basically throw out every radar unit that was in all of our vehicles that were here before I got here and replaced them because they were outdated, they were broke, or they needed so much in repair, it was cheaper to buy new ones. So by buying these 4, that'll get all of our vehicles with all the most up-to-date stalker radar units. And we'll be in compliance with the state and federal regulations on their usage.
Any questions?
Nope.
Looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to purchase the stalker radars for $10,533.80 and direct Kathy Cathcart to cut the check.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katsas.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Board reports.
No.
No.
Town hall fire system
I
correction.
missed those. I missed them. My bad. Town hall fire system corrections and options.
I don't know how much detail you want to know about why things happen, nothing by fault of the staff or anything, of course, but I could, maybe we can cover that. I could actually do a visual on the board as well to show you what the 2 differences are and what's occurred, but maybe you can explain it verbally and they're going to understand it better, am I right?
Well, what we did have a mechanical failure of the dry portion of the fire sprinkler system, which let one of the fire sprinklers run for about an hour, I think, before we were able to get it shut off, and it caused the damage that we have upstairs. The only expenditure that we have at this time, to the best of my knowledge, is the $5,000 for the down payment for Ultra Steam. We didn't get 3 bids. We made the decision just to call and see which disaster restoration company was available and have them come out and start remediating some of the damage that we have from the downstairs and the upstairs. So Ultra Steam is who came out and did that. Richard's been out here for the last 2 weeks with dehumidifiers, drying out carpet. We got the carpets removed upstairs. We got a bunch of ceiling tiles that are missing, and we had Advanced Fire out and did the repair of the fire sprinkler system. Since that time, our insurance adjuster recommended that we get a third-party inspection. We had Cooper Fire come out from Farmington. They did a third-party inspection, gave us a quote for some deficiencies that they feel there are in the dry fire system. And since then, we've had our contract plumbing inspector out here. They had some different suggestions, so right now we kind of have more questions than answers as far as that goes. I do believe that Cooper Fire's quote was put in your packet.
Yes.
So that is the correction for the dry portion of the system to realign some piping. Right now they're saying that there's a possibility it could hold water, so that this potentially could happen again unless we heat the crawl space in the attic. So that 23,006, I'm not sure what it was, that's in your packet. That would be in addition to, that would be on, the town would be on the hook for that cost on top of anything that the insurance would cover. So that our insurance provider will cover the repair. They won't cover any improvements. So they'll.
And this is an improvement.
Yeah, that would be considered an improvement. So that would be a town-borne cost that we would have that's unbudgeted. So I guess we had this on the agenda for discussion. We're at the point now where we can start some of the reconstruction, which would be some of the repairs to the building, carpet, sprinkler, tiles, insulation, all that stuff. And we just kind of wanted to bring it to your attention and see which direction maybe you wanted us to go. Would some of that stuff be approved administratively through a town manager? Or would you like to see, 3 quotes and those bids come back to the board for some of the reconstruction?
The reconstruction, though, that part's covered by insurance, right? So
Yeah.
they're gonna require bids anyways?
Yep, they're gonna
Yeah,
ask for
so-
the quotes from us as well to let us know what portion of that they'll.
I think if the insurance company's paying for it, I don't see why we would need to
Right.
Right.
I agree.
worry about that piece and have it approved by us. I mean, that's my opinion.
They aren't asking for bids. They'll ask for one, but they aren't.
Right.
They don't have
Yeah.
a certain set
Right, but
way
then
that
they're
they
gonna
want it.
pay that bid.
Right.
So it's not
Right.
like it's town money where we would wanna make sure we had bids for that. This is insurance money that, I think you should be able to just handle that on your own and get it done instead of waiting 2 weeks for us to be able to meet.
I agree with that.
But I thought this Cooper thing that you're talking about, this is.
That's an improvement.
Yeah, this
Talking about
isn't- Okay, so we're talking about 2 different things?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's been, well, we don't have any formal bids for that. There's talk about going to a glycol system.
We're still debating what we should do to make the improvements. The dry system is not sloped properly, so it doesn't drain out, so that water can, and this is above the insulation, it's dry because it's above the insulation not needed, and things froze, right? So, we need to get the piping sloped to the right, proper direction, et cetera, et cetera. We've got, the sprinkler heads are, this is down the road on this part, but the sprinkler heads are way old. They're supposed to have a life of 10 to 15 years, and then you replace them all. And ours haven't been replaced since the beginning, since we built
That's correct.
the city hall. And then on, like you say, we just today got the idea of possibly making it a glycol system rather than water. But there's lots of questions with that. How does it affect the walls when it sprays out, or the concrete, which is porous at the second floor? So there's a bunch of questions that we still need to research. We're safe as much as we can be by keeping everything heated. So, and then when the spring comes and things, you don't worry about freezing, we're provided a little time there. But of course, there's always risks. There could be a sprinkler head that's just ready to burst right now, but we don't know. But we've had everything inspected. It looks everything looks tight and the way it should be. So maybe we could risk the slight risk, probability anyway, that something could happen by doing our research and getting all the answers and all the options together, because there's a number of things like lining the pipe, inside the pipe with this, like slip lining a water line or sewer line so it doesn't leak. There's all kinds of things options out there, but I don't want you to piecemeal it. We need to go, okay, this is our complete answer, and this is what we recommend. We're working on it, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of what you're saying? Is that part of this Cooper quote that we should wait on it? Because
Yeah, I think
that
that's,
piece?
in my opinion, and I haven't talked to Jeremy, but
Yeah, I think we need to do a little bit more research. The
Okay.
one thing that's holding us up a little bit as far as for moving forward with some of the repairs is that the fire suppression system is above any of the repairs that we want to make. So right now, when you go upstairs, the ceiling tiles are out, we have insulation out. I think we still have some more questions we need to have answered in regards to that. But
we could do the Cooper bid, because they're supposed to go up there and level the pipes and possibly put this little drain mechanism up there. But Jeremy and I are both concerned that it's really expensive.
Yeah.
It seems like it shouldn't be quite that expensive, but maybe we do it and we still are gonna have to we may have to pipe up, pull the lines out in the future and completely do a new improvement, but,
I would really like to hear what Chief Evans has to say, because he walked forward and he's probably like a professional in this on some level. So I would love to hear what you have to say.
So I need to get with Jeremy, because when we responded over here, so normally in a system like that, we would receive an automated water flow alarm going to the 911 center. We would respond with lights and sirens and shut that down. So as they were saying, there was a long delay that water flow activation did not transmit to the 911 center. So that liability is on whoever checked the system last and whoever installed it. So my personal opinion is that your legal counsel probably wants to talk with Advanced Fire's insurance system, and they have some liability on this, in my opinion. Is that water flow alarm should have triggered, we should have responded over here with lights and sirens. The crew was here as soon as somebody human called and said, we have a big water leak over here. But that leak had been going on for a long time before we were triggered to come over here. And normally, if this was Lewis Merck, we would immediately be there on a water flow alarm. That's a lights and siren response for us, because if there's a water flow, it usually means a sprinkler head's gone off and there's been a fire. So like I said, my personal opinion is Advanced Fire has some ownership in this.
So if I can comment on that, Chief Evans is right on spot with regard to this, because our insurance company has already put the fire company on notice that they've got some responsibility and perhaps exposure.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I was here, because that all happened the night, what a terrible night for you to get appointed. But they were hiding from us. They knew they were in trouble. And my question to the technicians here is, why did we not get a water flow alarm? And all this damage occurred in the town that shouldn't have occurred. So, like I said, our people are trained to shut that off immediately, and we would have been able to shut that down had we responded over here and got the automated water flow. Like I said, if this was Lewis Merck, it'd been a whole different story.
Right.
So we would have been there quickly and shut it down, not had that much damage. So.
Well, and my sense is that both Scott and Jeremy are not sure that this is the right answer at this time. So I think, having the repair work seems appropriate within reason, right, where it won't affect the mitigation that you have to do or the improvements you have to do. But since both of you feel like you don't have the complete answer, I'm okay to
Table it.
table it until you guys come up with something that you come to us and say, we're really feeling good about this. Thoughts?
This has been the problem for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
People wondering, well, where are you at with things? Well, it changes like every hour. I'm walking down the hallway, I hear my name, getting talked about in the fire suppression system room, and so then we go back in and we start talking about stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm unsure, put it this way, I don't feel like I could say this is the best answer. I may be letting this company go in and do the the leveling has some merit, but is it too expensive? Are we being redundant because we're gonna have to pull that out? You know?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's been mentioned as well is when we go back in, if above the insulation, if you were to put heat ducts that would heat that attic to keep it above freezing, and that might be a reasonable response. I don't have all the information on that.
Sure.
And that's something that could be done now. Right now, the dry system is not supposed to bear water above the insulation line. All these sprinklers bear water. I'm learning this in the last 2 weeks. I'm not a fire suppression expert by any means, but that's been something that's been mentioned us by plumber and HVAC, is that maybe you just put some air ducts that actually go up off your heat system. You'd have to pay for the heat, right?
Right.
But what happened is we have no snow insulation this year.
Yeah.
It's been operating, and
Right.
we've had that snow up there that's kept it from getting down to the minus 13s and minus 11s, and that condensation got us this year.
Yeah.
We've been chasing sprinkler freeze up or water meter freeze ups, the icing that's coming off. So it was cold this year.
Yeah.
And talking with Cooper Fire, they've had a few of these incidents happen as well, even down in Farmington.
Oh,
So I don't know. I think we need to do a little bit more research before
Yeah.
I would necessarily turn
I'm okay
loose
with
on
that.
a
Yeah, me too.
$23,000 unbudgeted expenditure.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the meantime, we can still continue to gather quotes and see if we can't start putting some of this stuff back
Right.
together where it's
Yeah.
in reason.
Yep.
And then if we don't need to bring that back to you, we can run it through CIRSA
That
and make
sounds
sure it
good.
fits within that insurance budget. We're not going over.
Yep.
That was kind of the direction we were looking for
sounds
from you
good.
tonight.
So directed.
So directed.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
I would-
Do we need to table it though? Because
I'd be remiss with Josh if I didn't mention the 24,000 for both sides of the building too. It's for PD and for town hall.
Okay.
Well, when they said the building, I just figured it was
Yeah. Yeah.
all in one, all inclusive. So we have to still do a motion.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah,
For
it's on the
ta-
action agenda to table it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table action agenda item G, Town Hall Fire System Corrections and Options. And that way, Jeremy and interim town manager Scott can do a little more research for better options.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katsas?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Gosney Park shade structure.
So we just discussed this in my report. They did come as the lowest bidder on the project. The shade structure would cover the entire playground except for one piece of equipment, which is kind of a merry-go-round type piece of equipment that's way offset from the rest of the playground. Kind of the same deal that we dealt with Mesa, the other piece of playground equipment that was detached from the rest of it. It will cover half of that though, so almost all of the equipment would be covered. Like I said, we had good experience with them, other than the weather that we was experiencing while they were doing the construction, and the ruts that were made in the grass. So I don't see any reason why not to move forward with them. They do not require a down payment. We basically do an agreement with them, and once the project is completed, we give them payment, so.
Okay.
And they have, honestly, this company, the other companies that have submitted bids, they haven't followed up. This company has negotiated with us on price, even on the Mesa shade structure. They follow up to see how satisfied we are, so I think they're a pretty good company to work with in this.
Did you provide them with another quote so they would beat that price by 5%?
I did not. I don't think that's fair. I mean, I will let them know whether, they're within the budget or not. but I don't feel that's fair.
It's
to the
fine,
other
but,
members.
but I'm gonna hold you to looking for some grants.
Right. I will definitely look into that. Whether I'm gonna be able to do that.
Well, I don't,
Time-wise.
grants are weird right now,
Right.
just in general, but,
I think once we have a community development and a planner that can assist with those, especially the larger grants that take, a lot more time. Nicole and I was gonna work on the park plan together on that, because there's no way I would be able to keep up without hiring
Right.
more personnel,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Does the board have any
No.
other questions?
do you need approval? It's on the action agenda.
Yeah, I just need your approval to move forward. I guess I'm kind of confused with the way things have changed. Prior to this, when Katie was here, and I know we were without a town manager, I basically ran this through her and got her, confirmation to move forward.
Yeah.
Now that we do have Scott,
Yeah.
it's totally up to you guys. I know there was a spending limit of 10,000 that we want to bring to you, so.
Yeah.
Basically I get 3 bids, whoever's the lowest bidder and meets our needs. I run that by town manager and we move forward, so.
Well, I feel like it's pre-approved.
Right.
And if
That's
you come
budget.
in
I do
even
too.
below
Yeah.
budget, I feel like Scott can approve this. I
Right.
don't know how you
Yeah.
guys feel, but I feel like Scott could
Yeah,
approve
we
it.
were just doing that in the,
Yeah.
Sure.
when we
Yeah.
were short.
Okay, right, and I agree, you might as well, be aware
Expedite.
of what's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on.
Let's go.
Even though I would do a good job on.
Yeah.
I have you to back me up.
Yeah.
Funny.
Oh.
So next up is trustee reports. Chief Evans, you seem to be popular tonight. I'm going to ask you some more questions if you don't mind. I know you were asked to come before the planning commission again on your project over in the industrial park.
Yeah, so we received an unusual request, I thought, as when Nicole was here and the board trustees and the board planning commission in July of 2023 approved the fire station and clinic project. Nothing has changed in that project. The only thing we changed is at Kat's request, we had the architects go back and do the dark sky lighting on the facility. That's the only thing we've changed. And yet, the town planner, or the contract town planner, has asked us to come back before the planning commission next week. Obviously, there's no reason to do that. We have a letter that's in place from not only this board, but we have a letter that's in place from Nicole, giving us go-ahead to move forward with construction drawings. Our construction drawings are done. We've submitted them to the engineers. I think there was one thing the engineers asked for, and that was actually a hydrant flow assessment, which we did this weekend, and we're ready to go. So we've hired a contractor to get ready to bid this for us, and like I said, it just seemed unusual that nobody from the planning commission requested us to come back. Nobody from this town trustee board requested us to come back. The town mayor didn't request us to come back. The acting town manager didn't request us to come back. So I don't know why we're asked to come back there. So like I said, there was email train that went back and forth. Initially, we were told it was the planning commission requesting us to come back. We asked the planning commission. They said, no, we don't know anything about it. Then we were told it was an internal staff meeting. And on those days where there would have been a, quote, internal staff meeting, there wasn't even a town manager here. Scott had not been hired yet. So we asked for, who was making that decision, and we got kind of kicked around a little bit on the email, and the last thing we got was a snarky answer, said, see you on the 11th. And we said, unless the town mayor or the town trustees or the town manager or the chair of the planning commission wants us back, we'll come back. You're the authority having jurisdiction. So, but a contract employee is not going to summon us back for something that's already been approved.
Yeah. That seems off.
Well, and I was chair of the planning commission when this came in front, and I don't think this needs to be seen again. I think
Yeah, it's done. That part's-
yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
I think it
Fly,
sets a
little
bad
bird.
precedent if things are approved and we have them come back to the planning commission just because they haven't started yet, because that would be a lot of our projects.
And it was a minor change, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not-
Now, this is odd, and I would actually like a full explanation as to why
Yeah, that would be
our
nice.
contract staff that now we know that they're getting $10,000 a month, why are they wasting our time with this request? And wasting because it might not be you, it could be someone else, one of our
Yeah.
developers that's already been approved and has no changes. Like, it could be anyone coming in. This is not good practice and good business.
And like I said, our construction documents are done. They're ready for engineer stamp.
Yeah.
So they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And then we'll bid it as soon as we can get a chance to go through all those construction documents and any changes that may be required by a certified engineer to put their stamp on it. So like I said, we're there, and I don't understand. And even, I think in November, October of last year, when we were going for DOLA money, which DOLA money paid for the rest of the architect fees, there was a support letter not only from the trustees, but from Nicole before she left, that helped us get over the hump on that. And DOLA gave us $800,000 to
Right.
finish that out, which that's just money that didn't come out of the taxpayer funding for making that happen. So.
Right.
Yeah,
Scott,
I
are you
apologize
yeah.
for all this.
Yeah.
I think it's a total waste of resources, and if we can expedite this to make it go away, I'm on board with that.
Me
Yeah,
too.
and it's kind of odd. I would tell you that a lot of people around the town don't ask me when the fire station's opening. They ask when the clinic is opening. So
They might be asking when the fire station is after this winter.
Yeah, so the business plan is almost done. We have just a few snafus that we're trying to work out with Brian from Durango Urgent Care. They're our partner. Our board has voted for a 10-year lease with them. So many of Brian's employees that are from Durango Urgent Care live here in Bayfield. So they're all excited about the project opening up too, where they can go to the work
Yeah,
at the
work
clinic
at
over here
home.
versus in Durango. So.
I'm just curious, Scott, was this ever brought to your attention,
I
or?
talked with Dan, our planner, and he explained it's been about 2 years since it was approved.
Okay.
And that he would normally have the planning commission look it over again one more time. It's not like going back to a new approval.
Ground
It's
zero.
kind of clear the air, just as what he's doing here.
Yes.
That there's not that much difference. And what are the differences, you know?
Yeah.
I have to say that it's not unusual for a planning department to have something come back, it's been out a while, and just refresh everybody's minds what's occurring. But
So it's not an action agenda necessarily, it's just a,
not that I understand. I mean,
Okay.
essentially, they may vote to, oh yeah, this still sounds good to us.
Yeah.
But
that's an action agenda.
Why don't they do that with the east intersection? Because we're all asking questions as to where we're at on that. I mean, we need a refresher. It's been how long?
well,
I'm just
been saying
curious.
we need a meeting to have a refresh.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not saying you, I'm just
So,
saying in general,
if
like,
I said that, I don't want anybody to get mad at me, because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying I want to know where we're at.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual in my experience. I don't know if there's anything else going on within this drama.
Context, yeah.
But if you don't want this to occur, we can just say no to that. Although, I just want to let you know that I think that the planner is doing what I've seen planners do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anything changed in that project, we would certainly bring it back. If the building got bigger, if it got turned the wrong way, if we're going to reposition it, but nothing has changed in that building. Like I said, the only change we made from the original submittal was Kat with you asking for the night sky thing.
Yeah.
We changed all the lighting. That was the only thing that's been done. The architects have been pursuing the same building footprint, the same location, the same setups. Now, I have my opinions about what is going on here, but as people get ready to bid this, there may be a conflict of interest here. And we were ready to raise that, is that you have a planner that is also employed by somebody that could bid on this project. And frankly, I don't really feel comfortable giving up something that would potentially give one bidder a leg up on the bidding process. We're trying to make this as clean as possible. That's why we have a front range contractor doing our contract. and making sure that this gets bid appropriately and it stays within budget. So, and I think all of you are aware that we've had lots of other projects in Bayfield that have gone, way over budget. So
this night sky thing changes lighting levels or something, or lighting
yeah, so
range?
we don't want, you know, it just keeps the from over lighting the community where, you know, people can still see the stars at night because frankly, that's our motto, right?
That's our motto,
So-
yeah. It's a dark sky initiative, yeah.
I got involved in '96 with it down out of Phoenix, and something I was really hot to try on years ago. So I understand the project, but it does change, you know, something where somebody may say, I object to not having enough light to see. I mean, there's things, but it's a minor issue. So, but there's it's a substantive thing, you know, it's nothing imaginative.
Yeah.
But then that should have been clearly stated, this is why we would like for you to come back. You've made changes to your lighting.
You know, at this point, I appreciate the fact that you're hearing an opinion from one of your constituents with regards to a project, but I'd really caution the Board of Trustees from making judgments right now based upon that at this point and making statements when we really haven't had the full story. We don't have our planner here to tell us anything. So all we're doing is speculating. And so I just caution you in this public meeting from making these statements and these broad judgments.
Yep. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and honestly, when we brought this first time to the board approval, board trustees approval, Kat, that was your request, is that we make that change in the plan. So we did. So.
Yep. No, I understand.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Trustee Harts,
Nothing?
Trustee Katzos.
Well, I had the pleasure of taking Scott to the Region 9 quarterly meeting last Thursday, and that was great. Had a lot of information as far as updates. What's coming up for the area for La Plata County is property tax cuts due to the Tabor. And so there's going to be major impact on the Capitol Road improvements for 2025 and possibly into the foreseeable future. Region 9 and the Economic Alliance held an open meeting regarding the county's daycare needs and had over 50 people attend. And as Brenna brought that forward, we'll be hearing from the Economic Alliance here next week. Or our next meeting, correct. The workforce and senior housing throughout La Plata County is going strong. There's such a need, and it's being successful. The enterprise zones are designated every 10 years to determine the need for business tax credits for distressed areas of our state. The last time the zone was designated was in 2016. Not sure what's going to happen for 2026, but anybody who wants to take advantage of tax credits through the enterprise zone should get in now and take advantage of possibly being grandfathered in should our enterprise zone change. And you can go to the Region 9 website and look at their enterprise zone. They've got great detailed information in there. Something that came out of the enterprise zone research was the typical longevity of any new businesses from 4 to 5 years, but they found that Hispanics average 8 years of healthy business before it turns and becomes a pretty solid business, which is interesting. Regarding potential new businesses, industries in the Region 9 area, Region 9 applied for a chip grant. This is Microsoft chips for computers. There's money out there right now, and they're trying to determine if La Plata County would be a good location for a microchip manufacturing company. And that is for the study to find if that grant, the grant would pay for the study to determine the liability of that, or not liability, but viability. A recent study determined that lumber and biomass industry would not fare well in our area due to the fact that access to the lumber was hindered by at forest road access, and the distance to bring the product to a manufacturing plant would be on average about 75 miles. So they aren't real excited about supporting biomass lumber industries. Let's see. CDOT and Region 9 are working on their strategic plan for 2050 for road transportation issues, looking towards 2050. And then also Region 9 is currently working on a livable wage. They are actually pulling data from 3 different sources, MIT being one. And livable wage is defined as self-surviving wage. And lastly, they've got a great job opportunity training for anyone who might be interested. And I asked Dustin to actually put this up in our lobby, but this is for fiber installer certification. And it's $1,000 to take the course. There's a huge need for fiber installers, and there's also tuition assistance available up to $1,000 that could pay for that. And then lastly, they had a presentation about high alpine recreation study, which you can find on their website. We had such an impact due to COVID to our forests, very negative impact, that the region wants to consider how to better manage our wilderness, whether it be more toilets or kind of rotating accesses or whatnot. But there's great concern for the impact that our forests experienced during COVID. So this high alpine recreation study is also on the website should you want to take a look at it. And I think that's all I've got.
Trustee Moreland.
La Plata Economic Development Alliance, our board meeting occurs tomorrow afternoon, but they are speaking towards what Trustee Katso said. We are having Sarah Tober come next meeting. She is the executive director of the La Plata Economic Development Alliance. She's going to come next week and or next meeting and do a presentation on childcare in the area. So if you out in the audience know anybody who's interested in hearing more about it, please invite them. And then the Regional Housing Alliance, we did meet. Eva Hansen is our new executive director of the Regional Housing Alliance. Her prior experience was to work in housing for the city of Durango. So we got a great person to fill that spot. They are in the process of doing their putting together the second annual Regional Housing Alliance Summit, which I hope you all will be able to attend when it comes available. It was very impactful and brought a lot of knowledge of what's going on economically when it comes to housing in our areas and how important it is, and kind of why we wanted to do these extra projects that are for workforce housing.
I wanted to add one more thing. Scott and I will be attending the Economic Alliance meeting next Tuesday.
The board meeting or
Yeah.
the
No,
Tuesdays?
the Tuesday meeting.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not
the
going to those.
stakeholder meeting. So,
Gotcha.
but I just wanted to let you know that Brynn and I share this role. And so she does the board meetings once a month, and I go to the stakeholder meetings on Tuesday mornings because that's not convenient for her. So just FYI for you.
I can only do one.
I can only do one.
I can only do one. Plus, I am on the Regional Housing Alliance. So, but that's all I have.
Trustee Nyberg.
Southwest TPR is February 13th.
Push the east side intersection.
Well, and I think, Chief and the town manager should be in on that call too, if
I'm going to be
possible.
at that meeting. Hopefully, we'll have something a little more information packaged to report.
Right. Cool. That's all I got.
Trustee Cesaro?
Well, it helps when the fire department shows up to the meeting when you are the liaison to them. The Bayfield Chamber of Commerce had their holiday party. I was not able to attend, so their next meeting, I don't have it on my calendar yet for if it's in February or March. But I was gonna follow up with them since they had requested space here, and then we had the flooding. I feel pretty and I was gonna wait until we had a town manager. I feel pretty confident, letting them know that that's not gonna be an option, but getting a little more information on having a mailing address. So, I did request that. I haven't heard back yet, so at their next meeting, I'll figure out why they might need a more permanent mailing address since they don't have a physical location. And then I'll bring that back to the board to see if it's something that we can accommodate for them.
Trustee Cesaro, there was a career path expo. If you'll share that with the Bayfield Chamber, maybe they could get some of the business members to partake. It's
Happy to
a
share.
career seminar, so it's not get an employee. It's
Yeah.
just talking to kids about careers.
Sure.
So, on January 9th, we had a special meeting to talk about compensation for the staff for their taking over some of the town manager duties. And I guess if the board wants to make a decision without, if the board wants to make a decision, or if they want to make a decision without going into executive session, like you already know what you want to do, then we can do that without going into executive session. If we wish to have that discussion some more, then we do need to go into executive session for that discussion. So I'm throwing the options out in front of the board of,
I don't think we need to go into executive session. I liked what Jeremy put together. I would be in favor of moving forward with that when he did his presentation.
How long were we without a town manager? Just a month?
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's like 3 weeks. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, yeah, so,
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to go with what Jeremy laid out for the weeks that we were without a town manager.
Motion?
I think the one question I'd had was the salaried employees versus hourly employees. When we had that discussion, I don't remember if that was answered, and I think that was just Ron. To ensure that overtime pay and then additional weekly compensation it wasn't a double dip. I think I just remember that being a question, so I just want to make sure that that is addressed properly. But otherwise, I'm in favor.
right, because I know what you mean. If they were working overtime, they were already getting compensated for those who were hourly, right? That's what you're talking about, Lori?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I'll amend that motion to make a motion to go along with what Jeremy presented, with the exception of not including any overtime. It would be straight time pay for that period of time that we were without a manager.
So I think for me, I not understanding if that's saying that there was because they get their regular pay, that's already been paid out. And then this would be an additional pay. So this would be like a bonus.
Yeah.
So a bonus, you would have to adjust the bonus, not on the pay side. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
They're not gonna, no, we don't want to pay them, if they're getting an additional $100 for the week, and they've,
That could be an accounting nightmare. It's almost easier to adjust the bonus,
Yeah.
like do a smaller bonus, because you know they got overtime.
are we just talking about this one person? Just the one person?
No, the presentation actually included multiple people.
But I don't
But
know
that
how
was
many
the
were
only
hourly.
person that was hourly.
Salaried folks get the same pay regardless of how many hours
Right.
they work. Hourly
Right.
folks get paid for every hour worked,
Right.
because they get paid overtime.
Right.
So I think the spirit was for those who are not getting any additional pay,
That they get
for
something.
the doing that additional work, that they get that pay. So if there were individuals who were eligible for overtime pay who were doing additional work, then I just want to make sure that we're not double paying those individuals who already were compensated for their overtime. Because the other staff that don't receive overtime did not get any additional compensation for
Right.
their extra time worked.
So are you saying maybe approve the presentation for all of those except for hourly employees?
Now, if the hourly employee didn't have any overtime, then does that person still eligible for the additional pay that was proposed?
Right, because then they didn't do any additional work.
Yeah, well, yeah, so, again, I don't know how to handle that. It just seems a little fuzzy to me if you got paid, the spirit again was to pay for the additional work
Right.
that they had to do. Because it
And if
seemed
they're
like it was
hourly,
additional
if
hours.
there was extra
Yeah.
hours, it would have already been paid out.
Yeah, that's how I see it, so I think,
So just for the salary employees.
yeah. And it's not to discount the work anyone else did if they got the pay for
You just
it
gotta be
already. They
fair.
already should have been compensated for their time, but the others were not compensated for their time.
Well, and I feel like there's really a better formula for this than just kind of throwing it around. I'm not sure. I feel that compensation of something is important, but I just, I was trying to assess it on my own, and I'm not quite certain. I was talking to Marie about what people are paid salary-wise, what would be a reasonable compensation. I don't know.
Well, if the motion is to
Well,
pay,
yeah.
then you say no, or you say yes.
I think it's just in the numbers. That's all.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
just-
in the numbers.
When you made that motion, I was asking for clarity, so if you can maybe clarify your motion a little bit better for me, please, trustee Harts.
What part do you want to clarify?
How you spoke about the hourly employees didn't make sense to me. So if you could maybe say it different, I don't know.
Or you can start over.
I'm going to start over.
That works too.
Sure, sure.
What I really want to say? It would be a lot simpler, but may not get everybody to agree with it. I would like to make a motion to approve and move forward with the proposal that Jeremy put together for the additional pay for all the employees on his list for those 3 weeks or whatever time we were without a town manager.
So Katie's last day was the 27th, and so I believe Scott started on, what was last week? So probably 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think Scott was the 22nd.
Okay,
As a contractor.
okay. And I believe that your proposal was 500 apiece for you and Kathy, and 100 for Dustin.
I don't remember.
Yeah, right.
See, that's part of my problem, like,
It's all listed down.
but we have to, don't we have to
You
note
don't
this
have to, you
in the
can just
motion?
reference the,
Well, and some of.
I'm
and-
referencing what we have
she's,
agreed to.
yeah, referencing what was presented.
What was presented.
You don't have to
And
go.
That's my question, as I
Yes,
stand here, because I
yes.
wasn't part of your meeting, but what was presented by Jeremy documented? And if it was documented, please reference that
Yes.
document specifically.
Yes.
So that whoever is cutting checks for 500 or 100, and I'm assuming per week for 3 weeks, will know what they're
It was
doing.
documented on our packet on that date
Okay, thank you.
into the mic. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's a
Don't get
special
mad at
meeting.
No,
me.
I'm not mad at you, I was just moving.
special
it.
meeting.
All right, so I would like to make a motion to approve and move forward with the proposal that Jeremy presented on January 9th at the special meeting to compensate the staff in those amounts for the time between December 27th and January 22nd.
And specifically referencing some sort of document that was presented at that special meeting?
Yes.
Was there a document?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There was a
great.
document.
Yes.
It was all written, it was all written out. We all saw
Referencing
it.
the document
It was in your packet.
that was
Yes.
presented
Right.
on
Yes.
1/9 for assigned town managers, for staff for assigned town manager duties.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, trustee.
You're welcome.
I'll second that.
My discussion is this doesn't include what I just said about salaried versus hourly employees. So I would like to compensate staff. I just have a concern about overtime plus bonuses.
Did the document distinguish between salaried and?
Nope.
I understand from your discussion, there was a list.
It was a list of it
So
was
are
a
there
list of
people that need to
personnel.
be excluded from that document?
Well, that is what I would be
Well,
saying.
her motion didn't include that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna include that. They just get them out.
No, and that's fine. And so
Yeah.
I would like to vote yes, but I'm going to vote no because I still believe that there's a issue between paying someone twice, because I don't think that was Jeremy's intent. So this is my discussion part. I would like to vote for this, but I can't vote for the motion as presented.
In the discussion part, I'm going to agree with you, and I'm probably going to vote the same way, but I do want them to be compensated. I just feel like we shouldn't double dip
Yeah. so
somebody,
then do we
because
need
that's
to
unfair to
Make
some.
another motion after?
No, because we only.
Well, we have
that's
to
your
vote.
Okay, okay.
Is there any further
Ow,
discussion?
don't have to yell at her.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
No.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katsas.
Yes.
And Trustee Moreland.
No.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Upcoming dates of interest. Board of Trustees meeting on the 18th, Planning Commission on the 11th, and the town offices will be closed on the 17th for President's Day.
Mr. Mayor, I forgot to add something in there. I should mention to you guys as early as I can. Since we're supposed to have that work session with McKinstry tonight, that is going to be tentatively scheduled for the next meeting at 5. It is, okay? I haven't got confirmation on that, so. Okay.
So, next meeting is 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock,
Okay.
since they're flying in to be here in person.
That's our next
Yeah.
board meeting on the 18th.
Yeah, they were going to fly in today. They had to move their plane tickets.
Okay, so we're having that meeting, it's gonna start at 5.
The work session will start at 5,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then it's 6:30 is the regular meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you
Everybody
for
got
the
that?
reminder.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it out to you early and it saves me an email.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:18.
See you later, Kath. Thank you.
Thank you.